the computer was giving me problems. It was doing a deep scan, which prevented me from logging in on time. So I don't like being tardy, and so that's why there was such a delay.
Oh, yeah, gosh, thank you for being here. We're glad that you're just feeling minor issues.
So, good afternoon. Well, some of you still, I guess, good afternoon, hopefully, if you're in Hawaii. I don't know if we're going to try not to be long today. Just try to lay a little bit more foundation of what the school is going to be about. And I think last week's call kind of got away, and we didn't stay focused on what it is the school is going to do. Somebody we're getting feedback from. Let me turn this conference into live, and they'll be able to show me who it is. Okay, so 994, whoever that is, I'm going to meet you out, or you can meet yourself out. Star 6. Star 6, yes. So we see more people are coming into the call. I guess I wasn't the only one that was late. But anyway, what I was saying is I'm not really here to, this is not the forum to confirm other people's processes. We talked about some things on the last call, which in essence, everybody has their process. But I think the thing that I want to cover is that I'm not here to condemn anybody. I'm just saying that if any of these people who are out there or consider themselves to be gurus, or maybe not, maybe they don't consider themselves to be gurus, if they are not historically giving you the historical perspective on what has happened in the United States of America, their processes are flawed. And if they think that they are operating in the private, I'm here to tell you they are not. And the one thing that I can say about the instructions that I receive and that I will be sharing with you is that they have been vetted. And I'm sure you all know what to vet something, what that means. That means to prove it out, to prove it to be true. And many of these the methods that are being used out there, this is just someone just telling you, and they haven't been able to substantiate what they're saying with any kind of law or any kind of fact. When you are going up, if you're trying to obtain your doctorate degree, you do a doctorate dissertation, and it is put out there before your peers. Your peers, they get a chance to take a look at what you've written and what you've done. It's called a peer review, and they're looking at to see what you've written, if it basically holds true. And this has been something that has gone on for years, people telling you things and not being able, have not vetted it or have proven it to be true. And many just take it and just copy, try to make a cookie cutter approach or trial and error approach. And you found that later on that that's not the case, that you're out of your pocket a great deal of money, or if you get into a court situation, that you end up suffering liability. And then someone will come along with the next best approach. And that's usually and the way that they appeal to you is through, in many instances, through vanity and ego, or, trying to obtain funds and money. Now, I'm saying with me, I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying that you have the power and having the knowledge of how the contract and what's being presented to you, and have an overall picture of what's going on, you will be able to, in a sense, save yourself, a great deal of money. And time, not only just an area of money, but just in time, and knowing what is occurring. So that is the nature of the call, and I've said that and I'll say it again. You go through the school, you'll be given a foundation, which will serve as a litmus test. which you can use to vet others in their approaches. It's just very basic things that you are not being taught, and because they are not covering those issues with you, it puts you in a position to be, in a sense, be damaged. And I know we talked a little bit about signature, and we kind of went into that a little bit, but I guess in this call, Wayne, what was it that you said? Are you on the call? Well, I know you're on the call, but what is it that you said you wanted to put forth something to get those who are on the call's response? And now, last week I asked you all to look up a case. I gave you a tidbit, and that case was called Ponzi versus Fessenden. So is there anyone on the call who took the time to look that case up and to see what the significance is? Is there anyone on the call who did that? Is there anyone on the call? Yeah? Okay. Is there anybody else other than Andreas on the phone, on the call?
Yeah, hi.
This is William Blake. Hello, everybody. How did you spell that again? It's Fessenden. Ponzi, Ponziv, Fessenden.
F as in Frank, Essiden.
S. I think it's S-I. I think it's
D-E-N.
Fessenden.
Yeah.
Yeah, S-E.
Yeah, you're probably right.
S-E-D-E-N, yes. The incinerator on the call. Oh, God, the world's coming to an end.
Who did you on the call?
Well, Arnell. I was just saying, I know Arnell, I was just kidding with him. But, and that's where we are. That's where I want to take that's where the course is going. Basic things. And, for instance, I'm going to, let me see here. 1 second. Okay. We have a list of, in the course, you'll be given a list of 100. How many words is there? How many terms are there? George, I think it's 168.
I don't remember. I don't have the count in front of me, but it's about that.
Yes. So, in the last call, we talked about equitable and legal estoppel. Did anyone happen to look those terms up? Okay.
These people aren't considering the class time.
Well, anyway, there's about 168 terms that you would need to know, and these terms will be presented to you along with other course material that will set the foundation, which we will go over in depth to make sure that you understand the two. We always talked about jurisdictions, and to make sure you're able to distinguish the two. And once we cover things from a historical perspective and show you what's in place, then you'll be able to see the matrix of what it is and how to deal with it. I'm just telling you right now, and this is the truth, if you're filling out applications, if you're here in the United States of America, and you're filling out applications and you're filling out forms, you're entering territorially to the United States, and therefore subjecting yourselves to their jurisdiction, and you are abandoning your private rights. And And if what I just said, if you don't understand that, you can just look those terms up, look everything up that I just said, and that is what's happening. So everyone's telling you out here to do this lien, to do this UCC, to file this, and to get your birth certificates authenticated. And I'm going to tell you what happens when you get your birth certificate basically authenticated. Even if you're having what is called a certificate of live birth. If you have a certificate of live birth and it's issued from the United States, which is usually at the top of the certificate, and it says that on your birth certificate of live birth, and this live birth is issued from the United States. Basically, and I used to have it in my records where Condoleezza Rice basically said, if you show a birth certificate, someone shows you a birth certificate, they are a U.S. citizen. And if you don't know the difference between a citizen, a resident, and a national, you're in trouble. And this is what I'm saying. The majority of people out there aren't teaching you what these terms are and their significance. They're not telling you what is a administrative subdivision of the United States. They're not telling you the significance of that. They're not telling you what happened in 1948. All these things are important as foundational information to be able to even write, to be able to express your will, or to be able to create competent documents, or in a sense to control a document that was not prepared by you, that was presented. So, like I said, in terms of titles, you need to know what a laureate title, but what a laureate title is. Do you know what a lien means? What is an appearance? Can anybody tell me basically what's an appearance? And that's very significant, that term appearance, because we need to know what an appearance is and what are the various forms of appearances. And it's that appearance that most people, they think they understand, but they don't understand. That's one of the things that gets them into deep trouble.
Is that not automatic consent? An appearance is an automatic consent.
Well, not necessarily. As you heard me say, what I'm glad you interacted, but you heard me say, in one point, and on the one hand, you're correct. It's the type of appearance that we're discussing. So you can make a general appearance, or you can make a special appearance.
You are in detail.
Okay, but still, how is that appearance, whether it is special or whether it's general, how is that appearance usually made, or how is that appearance made?
The general would be in person. Special would be through writing, I believe.
Well, not necessarily. It could be done. It could be done in person, or it can be done via the mail. So, can a general appearance?
Your paperwork would precede the physical going into the courtroom, though, I believe.
But so can a general appearance can also be made via document.
I don't know if a general would have standing, though.
Yes, you can make a general appearance via your answer. Okay, so if you just did an answer and you didn't say anything about it being able to be a special appearance, and if the contents of your answer wasn't consistent with a special appearance, you see, all these things you have to know. It's just not the title; it's the contents of your document that determines what it is, not the title. If you say it's a special appearance, you have to state why it is a special appearance and why the special that appearance basically. Well, let me give you the definition. It says an appearance may be either general or special. The former is a simple and unqualified or unrestricted submission, which can be done via your answer. Okay. And your answers usually that can be done via the mail, or that can be done and when you enter into the court and you enter a plea. Okay, it says an appearance may either be general or special. The former is a simple and unqualified or unrestricted submission to the jurisdiction of the court. The latter, a submission to the jurisdiction for some specific purpose only. So if you're going to make a special appearance, well, what is going to be the nature of that special appearance? It says that the special appearance the latter. The latter is a submission to the jurisdiction for some specific purpose only. Well, what would that specific purpose be?
To state one's standing as an American national.
Okay, and if you are an American national, well, what is it that makes you an American national?
Declaring it, claiming it.
What qualifies you to be an American national?
Well, right now everybody's rescinding all of their vacation contracts, so that would be one of the points. But even without going through that process, it was just knowing who you are as a living man and woman and declaring it and acknowledging it. That
okay, there's another thing. See, when people are out there telling you that they rescinded the contract, that they're rescinding the contract, and they're canceling, they're rescinding the contract, on what grounds are they rescinding the contract?
they did not participate.
Okay, we're going to go further.
Correcting a mistake.
Okay, well, what was the mistake?
Well, they didn't make the mistake, but they're allowing the others to correct their mistake to see that they have any attachment or liability or lien on a living soul. It's completely impossible.
Okay, well, when you're talking about rescinding your signature and all that stuff, you have to have a reason for doing that. And you must also prove why you did that. Just because you're sending a letter saying that you're rescinding something, if you took something from the other party, in order for that rescission or that to take place, if you took something from that other party, you would have to restore them to their original position. And to be an American national is more than declaring what an American national is. What makes you an American national? What makes you the beneficiary of the Constitution of the United States of America? See, these are the questions that need to be dealt with at the base. The thing that makes you an American national, you don't just claim it. Okay, you can call yourself an American national, but somewhere in your documents, you have to qualify why it is that you're an American national. An American national usually begins with the fact that you are one of the people of one of the several states of the American Union. That is what makes you the beneficiary, or puts you in a place of beneficiary, or puts you in a position to make a claim on the Constitution of the United States of America. And if you understand that Constitution of the United States of America is different from U.S. Constitution. U.S. Constitution is in another plane of jurisdiction. It is not original jurisdiction. And you have to be able to make a claim, because even in that U.S. Constitution, that document is subordinate, and it really has nothing to do with you. If you are in original jurisdiction, which means you are in the republic, or you are in one of the several states, which is a republic. And that other system, the reason why it was created, that whole system, which consists of Congress and democracy, that was put in place to basically have control over the territories or anything that it creates. It's under an exclusive legislative jurisdiction of Congress. They are two systems, folks. They're two planes of jurisdictions. They are two different forums. They are two different law systems. And the Supreme, that jurisdiction that we're speaking of is a body politic, and it's a body corporate. It really doesn't have a physical location except for maybe those 10 square miles. But they're able to extend, they're able to go beyond that jurisdiction when you come in and you become a resident. And you become a resident via your signature or via your conduct. That means you have entered into their plane of jurisdiction. You have abandoned your plane as or one of the people of the several states, one of the beneficiaries of the Constitution of the United States. Don't you understand? That is your trust document. That is in the state. And they, in their capacities as agents have taken, they are bound. The only interaction that you have, only interaction that the United States can come territorially, the only authority they have in dealing with one of the people of the several states is those 17 enumerated limited federal powers. Anything beyond that, they don't have any authority. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so just to say that you see, when you rescind something, or you're saying you're canceling a signature, see, that's why we have to understand what a signature is. How about a signature really never exists? How about it's only you? When you say you rescind your signature, you're basically stating that was a signature there. How about there never was a signature there? Okay? Just because they have writing on the paper, or there's handwriting on the paper, it is only you. And this is what these people out there are not telling you. They're not telling you what the hell a signature is.
I just had that down with the beach. It could be anything, not an X spin on it, whatever.
Yeah, because it all goes to intent.
That's right.
It is a mark or symbol used by you. A mark or symbol. And typically when you talk about a mark, you know how they used to brand cows? That was the mark of its owner. Okay? So if we're talking about a signature and you're talking about rescinding and all that, you let them know through the mail, it's evidence that it's just that you were there. How about they have no signature? How about you let them see? And the thing is when you're saying there's no signature, or you're rescinding something, you're admitting that there was one there, and isn't that possible grounds that their court system may have subject matter jurisdiction? Because in a sense, you're saying that yes, I rescinded my signature. You're admitting that there's a signature. Now you're saying no, it's not my signature. So now what do you have? Well, you're not saying that it's not your signature. You're just saying you rescinded it on the grounds of fraud or something like that. Have you proven the fraud yet?
Okay, I have a question.
But let me finish. Have you proven the fraud? When you say you rescinded your signature, it has to be a reason for rescinding it. Have you proven it? And that will require you. So in a sense, it shows that you enter territorially. It shows that the judge has subject matter jurisdiction. It shows that the judge could potentially have personam jurisdiction. And that therefore, if that case comes up, if it's in their system, what are the chances that you're going to win? It's very remote. That's why the other system doesn't even respond. Because it's extremely, your chances of coming out of there unscathed is extremely remote. Because why? Because you basically are animating a subject. You have become a subject and not a sovereign. You become a subject. And they're there to hear the controversy. And the judge has been given authority by the legislature because in that system, listen to what I'm saying, sovereignty is invested in the legislature, and via his employment contract, he has been given authority to hear the controversy. And because that system is a giant collection agency, it is designed to transfer wealth. It's going to charge you, or it's always going to find against you. So the key is, if you knew what a signature was from the beginning, you would be saying that you rescinded your signature. How about I don't have a signature? How about I only contract territorially to the United States? How about if there is a signature, that's not my signature, how in the hell can they say it is? They don't know what your mindset is. But if you go in there saying that you're rescinding your signature, you're saying that it was your intent. Or it was some of your intent. And now you have to understand, you have to say now why you're rescinding your signature. And if you never address the intent portion of it, I'm sorry, they're going to fight against you. So So the key is never admit if that's a signature. If that was never your intent, then you're able to tell why. If you have reserved, you know how to give a proper signature, and that is without, you know how to do that without prejudice, and know what that without prejudice means, which means you haven't abandoned your law form and your remedy in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America, which is a paramount document. Do you understand what paramount means? It means paramount. If ever there's a conflict between their system and original jurisdiction and the statutory jurisdiction, and you know who you are, and everything is done properly, they cannot win. So all these old school techniques, talking about rescinding your signature, going through, that's an uphill battle. And what I'm trying to tell you is everything that system does is based upon fraud. And if you knew how to, basically what a signature is and how to reserve your rights in relationship to documents that you did not create, they could never defeat you. All these guys out there who are so-called gurus, they have you filling out paperwork. They have you to go and get a certificate of live birth that's issued from the United States or one of its administrative subdivisions. You all should be looking up what is an administrative subdivision of the United States. You should always know that. And then they have you to go to Secretary of State and have that authenticated. And what have you just done? You have just created evidence against yourself. You're basically saying, and when you present that document, which is like making a declaration, you're basically saying, I am one of your citizen subject slaves, and you have created evidence of the highest order. And guess what? You can't go back and you can't gainsay and say this is not me. So in many instances, these people out there with their processes, they have you creating evidence against yourself.
Yes. Now, also, if one is in that process or has done that, isn't there a way to counteract that by sending it back as a mistake here and returning it back from whence it came?
How about just never use it?
I like that idea, too. Haven't figured that one out yet. But invisible intent has always been with me from the beginning of all of this stuff that's going on with me. But as far as provable or standing on it, well, I'm still working on that. And how is it?
Well, if you've already done that, here's what I'm telling you. Don't use it.
No, I never said that I did.
Okay, when you said if you've already done it, how do you get around it? And I'm just telling you, don't use it. You have the right to determine your political, to express your political will. If you want to be a citizen, if you want to go to England and be a citizen, you can go through that process, make a declaration, and show that's your that is a God-given right, a private right that no one can take away from you. And see, that's another issue. Most people don't know what their private rights are, what their divinely bestowed private rights are. They don't know. And if you don't know, how in the hell can you not, how do you know what it is that you're abandoning or what they are basically damaging if you don't know that? You have let me finish. You have the will to so-called go to any political society and make a declaration, okay, if you want to, and go through the process of becoming one of their citizens. That's your political will. You can do that at any time. So you hear people saying about expectorating from the United States. Well, go ahead and expectorate. They cannot stop you. We have the court cases. But expectoration that's not the correct name. Because how about I've never been a U.S. citizen? So if I've never been a U.S. citizen or a U.S. citizen subject slave, why am I expectorating? How about I've always been a citizen or one of we the people of one of the several states? I've always been that. And what evidence do you have that I'm not? And if they come, do you think they're going to try to disprove what your political will is? They can't.
No, but I think you should share more on what to make it work. Yes.
That's what the school is for. The school shows you, that's what the school is going to show you, and that's what I'm trying to tell you now. You have more power than you think, and the reason why you're lacking, you feel like you don't have the power, that you have to try all these complicated procedures out there, it is not necessary.
Yeah, I want to know on the solution.
On the solution to what?
Well, I love hearing you speak on what works.
Okay, the solution, here's the solution. Did you not hear me just say, I am one of the people of one of the several states of the American Union? If you have ever heard me, if you've been to a thing, you heard me say that I am Tommy Dwayne Taylor, one of the people of the state of Georgia, one of the several states of the American Union. And I hereby at all times claim, retain, and invoke. It is my intention at all times to claim, retain, and invoke all rights, powers, privileges, liberties, immunities, and defenses in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Georgia as beneficiary. Now, what did I just say? That is a very, very powerful statement if you understand it. And I would strongly encourage you all to study that and dissect it, because that's where your power is. You're not making that known. And when I say that, I just said that, hearing no objections, let the record reflect. Can you hear me? Yes, I can.
Oh, this is William Blake. Sorry about that. One question. Is that your name? Is that the name that's on the birth certificate of live birth? And is that you?
I didn't say that was me on my name on the live birth certificate. I'm not even using the certificate of live birth. I don't need that to identify me. I have a whole different process. Not a process. I have a lawful process, a lawful procedure for establishing my identity and my political will. There's 2 documents that I use to do that. I don't need it.
But doesn't the state use the certificate of live birth as the nexus which connects us with them by fraud and deceit to begin? Isn't that the foundational document that starts the whole process?
Which state are we speaking of?
Well, your local state that issues that document.
Which state? That's what I'm asking you.
Well, whatever corporate state you're living in, Georgia or Texas.
Okay. Am I in a corporate state? Am I making a claim that I am a resident? Am I making a claim that I'm a resident of state of Georgia? Or did I make a claim that I'm one of the people of the state of Georgia?
Well, I guess I'm trying to get back to the whole idea of the birth certificate itself. The way I look at it, and I could be wrong, I mentioned this in my last lengthy email to you and Wayne and Lauren and Joyce there about the idea that isn't that the nexus document that starts the whole thing, and how do we go about disconnecting from that? In other words, never using that name ever again that appears on that.
I didn't say the name. I didn't say anything about the name that appears on that. I said don't use the document. Do you think if let me ask you something. If I'm seeking to gain control over you, do you think I'm going to issue you some documents that's going to promote your freedom? Or do you think I'm going to issue you a document that's going to make you my servant and my slave if I want to maintain control over you?
Well, the second, obviously.
Okay. Case, if you have a certificate of live birth, and at the top of it, it will usually say the corporate state, wouldn't it? That's where it was issued from. Right? So, if that's issued from them, 9 times out of 10 they're issuing it because they have control. They're saying that they have an interest on what's contained in between those 4 corners of that document. So why would I ever want to present that as evidence or have that authenticated by a Secretary of State that that's me?
Oh, no, I understand that would definitely be a foolish process. My question is, why would you ever use Tommy Dwayne Taylor or any variation thereof that would connect you to that document?
It's not connecting me to that document. How is it connecting me to that document?
The state created an artificial person.
And what I'm saying is, I am a man. I am one of the people. I am not a person. That's what they're saying.
The state can only see that legal person that they created.
That's incorrect. The state cannot own it, and see that's the purpose of the school. The state cannot. Are you familiar with Article 4, Section 1?
Not quite off. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you know what full faith and credit is?
Well, I couldn't give a definition.
Okay. Well, if you truly know what full faith and credit is, and what it states, full faith and credit says that that the state must recognize the official acts of states, territories, and those areas that are under the jurisdiction of the United States. Do you think if you had the proper documents that were created by the state of, okay, and that has been certified, and that document has been authenticated, don't you think that their court system and their system would have to recognize that?
You mean documents that you created?
No, I didn't say that you created. I said that the state of created.
And let me insert here, William. When he says state of, he's got a very precise meaning to that, and it isn't what you might automatically think it means. It definitely means their government, the democracy. It's another plane.
Like when you see state of, you always just see state of in all capital letters. That is not the same as the state of. The means a definitive article. That means you're talking about something specific and something particular. When you say state of is a condition. It's like a type of something. It's like a type of the original or a variation of the original. Not meaning it's the same thing. So when I talk about the state of Georgia and state of Georgia, they are 2 different things. And
which one issued the birth certificate?
I'm not concerned with which one issued the birth certificate because that has nothing to do with me. I don't claim the birth certificate. I don't present that as who I am. I don't use that as a means of identification. If I were to use it, and that's what they're being trained out there. People are being trained to use the birth certificate as a means of identification. And when
I'm wanting to do the exact opposite of that.
And that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why it's important that you have to know who you are, where you are, and what you're dealing with. You have to understand the terms. You have to understand that the terms mean different things at different times and different places. And what am I saying? Their definition of terms is different from the corporate definition for the corporate definition. They have, even though it may appear to be the same, it's spelled the same, they have 2 different meanings. The term in the Republic means something totally different from the term in the corporate system. And if you don't know how to make those distinctions down the line via the use of words, that's why I tell you, when you get a term, you look it up in Black's 4th and you look it up in Black's 7th. And you'll see that the meanings are totally different, or you'll see that the term no longer appears in the 7th. Because you're dealing with 2 planes of jurisdictions. And if you have a document that's issued from the state of Texas, state of California, state of Colorado, that is an administrative subdivision of the United States, which is a federal corporation, 28 U.S.C. 3015C.
Well, I understand that part, definitely.
Well, that's a different. So what I'm trying to tell you is you don't want to be out here taking birth certificates and having them authenticated and then presenting them as evidence as to who you are. Because once you do that, they see that, they automatically see that you are a U.S. citizen, or you are a U.S. resident, or you are a U.S. person. And therefore, you are responsible for the debts of the United States. And therefore, you agree to be a citizen subject slave. You have no sovereignty. The sovereignty is that exists in the legislature, and whatever they say goes. You have to follow. You have to do that. So we're saying that you're always in the Republic. And if you're always in the Republic, and if you're always in one of the several states, why in the hell are you using a document that was issued by the corporation?
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess the thing is I think that probably is what starts the whole ball rolling. I mean, this whole thing that we heard from, a lot of us heard from David Clarence and some of the others about this, that, we were the ones that created the estate via our footprints, our landmarks on the.
I want to say that you can, all of you who are on there, I don't care if you're offended, you can take what David Clarence said and put that shit in the garbage can.
Well, that's why I'm saying I'm calling it into question. That whole line of thinking that we were the ones that created this thing. Well, I'm basically coming around to another view entirely, that it's actually the state that creates these artificial entities, these legal persons, fictional persons, in order to take away our private estates.
That's where I like to correct you. The state is not doing anything. Guess who's doing it?
Well, yes, I know what you're saying. We are doing it. We are doing it to ourselves by.
How are you doing it?
Well, I mean, we agreed to buy our silence or signatures along the way with other contracts, but of course we weren't actually giving consent when we were born. This was all done without our consent, without full disclosure or anything else.
Exactly. If that was not done, that in itself is grounds that it never. That's what vitiates fraud.
It's fraud.
Any fraud from its inception. Well, then, if it's fraud from its inception, then what has it changed?
Well, I guess it's the whole idea of the name that we are using ourselves. What relation does mine have?
It's not. You missed the point. The bottom line is everything that system does is based upon fraud. And if you don't know how to raise that question, then it's believed that you are a participant in the fraud. You've given a general capacity signature via your silence, your use, and your signature, which is all conduct. Conduct is things done and not done. It's you who have animated. And if you don't know how to deal with that, with that issue, because if there's fraud in the beginning, they can have no contract. There is not one that exists. So that birth certificate, which they think they present to you, they give you the birth certificate. If you use the birth certificate and you're showing that around to people, what you're saying is, this is proof that the corporation has an interest in this particular vessel. It's the same thing when you go and have an automobile registered and you get a certificate of title. What that certificate of title, it is issued from state of. And what it says is that they have an interest in that vessel. Let's say if it's an automobile. And you're around here going around saying, I have my certificate of title. Okay? And bottom line, what you're saying is, I only have the use. I don't have the control. I only have equitable estoppel. I only have the use of it. I don't have the control of it. The control and the legal title is vested in state of. Do they understand what they're saying? They're saying you are basically depositing this property in the trust, in the corporate, into the corporate trust for its use. And then they turn around and then they tell you, once you do that, they tell you how you're going to use that property. And then they turn around and tell you, for receiving our benefit, we're going to charge you a luxury tax or an ad valorem tax as well. That paper that's issued from them shows that, in most of the stuff that's issued from them shows that they have an interest. They have subject matter, and they have personam, and they have the proper venue by which the claim can be made out on the statute. So your objective is to take control of the subject matter, take control of the personam, and take control of the venue, whereby they don't have a claim by which relief can be granted on the statute. And this is what you're not being taught. You're not being taught the very basic stuff that this very basic stuff that we're talking about is the stuff that kills you. You're doing it to yourself. How are you doing it to yourself? Because you don't know that you're doing it through signature, silence, and use. All of those things need to be discussed in depth. And once you understand that, and you'll see, I get to choose how I want to identify. I don't need their damn documents. But if I am one of the people of the several states, and the people are the state, then am I making connections for you? If I am one of the people, and I have court cases here that says that the people are the states, well then, that means that if I'm not a part of this system, then there must be a way in which I can create my own, or which the state, I should say, the state of Georgia can create documents as to my identity and as to my declaration, and I can have that done, create the evidence, which is the evidence of the highest form that the other side must acknowledge. And when they see that, they have to bow down. Why? Because they are not operating under the employment contract, under the corporation. They are bound by the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, which says that they must protect those who are the beneficiaries of the Constitution of the United States of America. Is that clear? Is there anyone on the call that does not?
That's what I want to learn how to do. I really appreciate the opportunity to join this class. Really, thank you very much for having this.
I just want to ask a question. Is there anyone who doesn't understand that if you are always in original jurisdiction and you are one of the people of one of the several states of America, that qualifies you as the beneficiary of the Constitution of the United States of America, which bounds these suckers, which keeps these suckers bound. They're bound by the 17 enumerated powers. That's the only thing that you have assented to that they could possibly have control over. Now, what they're doing to you is to get you to circumvent that. Those protections, those constitutional protections that you have, is they're getting you to go in and contract with them directly, because that's one of your private rights to contract and not to contract, and you have unlimited contracting. And so when you go in there, what you're saying is, we know that the United States is a no-till, commercially insolvent corporation. It doesn't even have the capacity to contract, but you are sovereign, and you are a steward. You've been put here, man and woman, by God, and if you say that they have the capacity to do so, and you don't ever bring it up with your capacity signature, then it must be. It must be so. You have decided that you want to abandon your role as sovereign and one of the people where all the power emanates from, to becoming a subject slave. That's how they do it. Don't you understand? Whenever you see that you always see the devil, and the devil always appears with a contract. He's got to get you to do something. He told Jesus, he says, bow down to me, I'll give you all your eyes can see. If Jesus would have bowed, that would have been conduct now, wouldn't it? That would have been recognition, acknowledgement acknowledgement, receipt, and acceptance of someone as having greater power. And that's what you're doing every day when you animate or you put a signature down there and you think because it's your handwriting or that the handwriting is similar, that is your signature. Your signature means far more than just handwriting or a mark. And if these people out here who are coming with these fancy-ass so-called processes and they're not covering these very basic things with you, they are doing you an injustice. And it shows you. And it shows you.
Hey, Tommy?
Go ahead.
Tommy, this is George. I'm George out of Indiana. So, could you explain, please, as a beneficiary, what are the beneficiaries entitled to? Once you have established that you are a beneficiary, what is the beneficiary entitled to?
Well, someone was trying to say something before you, George. Who was that?
That was on Alex. This is why when people go to court and they say, all right, if you do that, well, they need to file down to the jurisdiction. Well, when you let that, you go ahead and sit down, the same thing.
Well, they're trying to get you. I mean, you can stand this to me, but they have to get you. They still would have to get you to come forth, and they say state your name and how do you plead. They must give you the opportunity to assert your law form. They must give you an opportunity to assert your status and capacity. And if you don't do that, and then you must do a direct attack. If you're forced in there and they brought you to that court, or to there by special appearance, that's what you would say, and you immediately invoke your law form in your jurisdiction. And you know what? They can't win, because once you are on that record and you have invoked your law form in your jurisdiction, as I said, hearing no objection, let the record reflect. They have just recognized, acknowledged, received, and accepted your law form and your remedy and your being in the original jurisdiction and you being a beneficiary of the Constitution of the United States of America, which they took an oath to uphold. And to attack you and tell you that they're not, they would have to come into one of your courts. They are now bound by your procedures, not their civil procedures, but the procedures of your court in terms of attacking you and telling you you're not who you are. And that on its face would be an act of treason. Do you all understand that?
Yes.
Please. Everyone is on the call. Can you chime in and say yes? Do you understand that?
Yes.
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 Also, Tommy, I want to ask you something real quick. When you say one of the people, is that with a capital O or a lowercase?
It doesn't matter. I would always be lowercase. You're one of the people. One is usually capitalized. That's why you refer to the actual document so you can see how it's spelled, and that's the way you want to be consistent. So just like when you say several states, you say several. In the Constitution, several is lowercase, state is uppercase.
Okay, so I think in the Constitution it's lowercase O for one.
It depends. If you say you're one of the people, it's all about location. Okay, if you put it upper or lowercase, they're in no position to tell you what the meaning is. Yeah, because you've already said it's in relation to one of the several states.
Uh-huh.
So that's how it will be defined. That's how the Supreme Court looks at things. They look at the contents of your document and the way things are spelled and their legal relations, and they make a decision. If your document is in relation to a corporate state of, and you come and you try to basically make a claim of being in the original jurisdiction, you have mixed and multiple jurisdiction, but based upon what they see, the words used, person, resident, all that stuff, then they have to go by those rules that have been set up in the corporation. If you know who you are and where you are in terms of original jurisdiction and everything is consistent, that's what they have to go by. So, what are you the beneficiary of? When you say you're the beneficiary, let's put it this way. God gave you private rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is just a few. You need to go further. You have unlimited right to contract. And what the Constitution does, it protects those rights. It protects your God-given rights. And there's a number of them. And that's what and that's called a trust document. And that trust document was created for the states to bind central government in relation to you. They're saying that those who serve in office as agents, they're saying that we agree under trust to abide by this trust document that says that if a person, these are your God-given rights, and we're saying in this document we take an oath to make sure that they are protected. And by you being one of the people in posterity, okay, that's the trust document. You are one of the people, and that's why you have to be able to make that claim and know how to make that claim and what qualifies you to make that claim. And once you've done that, and you've done that properly, then that other side has to kiss the ring. They have to kowtow and kiss your ring. But if you don't know who you are, where you are, and what you're dealing with, and you just go ahead and go in and try to solve all these silly-ass processes and don't even know the very basics, you're not going to be successful because they're flawed. And I don't care if it's Winston Stroud, I don't care if it's Jack Smith, if they got truth in them, they know that what I'm saying is the truth. You don't know these basic things, you are not going to be successful. And Winston Stroud has already told you, if you go back and look at his old stuff, he'll tell you that he has no use for anything other than commerce. So you're thinking you're private and you're in a public arena. How can you be private and you're using all of their documents and you're using all their forms? Look up the term apply. Look up application. I can't stress it enough. If you're not looking at these terms and you don't know them, you're doing yourself a disjustice. And if you're not going to do the homework, and if you think it's just going to come to the study groups and just take, I got another thing coming for you. It ain't going to happen. Because I'm not going to have you to go out there and say, oh, what I was taught by telling me the way. No, it doesn't work because you didn't study. And I'm not going to come and hold your hand. That's why you have to put in the time. You come to class, or you come to the study groups, and you participate. And you don't be out there sharing what you learn with others until you perfect it for yourself. And you will be able to see if you take what you've learned and put it aside and go through this, it's going to hit you like a Mack truck, like a freight train coming down, and you're going to see all these damn flaws. You're going to see that these people never cover the very basics with us. And that's why you're lost. That's why you get lost in all these processes out there, because you don't understand, and no one is taking the time to teach you the very basics. And it's the signature is one of the primary things that gets you involved in this. So if there's anybody out there talking about a process, it's not talking about signature, silence, and use those very basic things, you're wasting your money. And if someone tells you to take a certificate of library and get that authenticated, and I'm telling you, I've seen the document. Condoleezza Rice says anybody produces anything to you with a certificate of birth on it, they are U.S. citizens. And when you have it authenticated, that means you basically you're creating evidence of the highest form that you can't go and gainsay. So what you better be careful is you better not be out there using that document saying that this is me. You listen to what I'm saying. The people are the state. You are one of the people. And it takes 3 people to run a state. And that's all I'm going to say on that, unless somebody is able to put the pieces together right now and tell you, other than Joyce or someone who I've taught that to, can tell you the significance of that. I just said, William just said, well, how do you get them? They can only recognize their documents. Not so. Not so. You have to realize that the notary and the Secretary of State and your clerks and the U.S. Secretary of State, they are switching mechanisms. They can see both sides.
I have a question for William. Who named you, William? Did the state name you, or did your father name you?
Or mother, or grandmother.
Well, it was allegedly my father, but then again, I have, it's all secondhand information for me. I have no direct proof of that, is what I'm saying. Is that not hearsay evidence as far as what appears on that document?
If you are in original jurisdiction, you make your claim in original jurisdiction, and you can limit who uses any variation of your name or your caricature. That's all I gotta say. You're the one who has it.
That was part of my original point is what relation does my name have with that document? And is that my name? That was my question that I had with that whole thing, but I think that still needs some exploration. We're going to have to explore that a little deeper when we have the time to get into it, I guess.
Well, I mean, but it really, you don't have to. There's nothing really to get in deep about it. The document in itself, on its face, was created as fraud. So in actuality, it doesn't exist. So why even discuss that? It's not even necessary to discuss that. The reason why I'm bringing it up is I'm showing you that it's a flaw. And I'm showing you that if you take that document and you have it authenticated, you create evidence of the highest form. And when you go out there and you take it to one of their officials and you're saying that this is who I am, and you're thinking that that's placing you in private, you're thinking that that's placing you in original jurisdiction, you're mistaken. What you're saying, I am a U.S. citizen subject slave of the highest order.
I agree.
So anyone out there telling you to go and do that, don't you understand that the process is flawed and you're not getting what you think you're getting?
But now the next question would be, whenever you use your name as a signature and it is exactly like it appears on that birth certificate, whether it's in all caps or upper lowercase, how does the state see that? The corporate state.
What did you just not hear? Did you not hear what I was saying? That handwriting has nothing to do with it. It's your intent. Just because my handwriting may appear the same let's say that there's a contract over here, and there's a contract, and I have a contract that says, written by you, that says, that authorizes me to enter your home and take anything that I want out of your home, your money, and I could even defecate in the middle of the floor if I wanted to. And your handwriting is at the bottom of that contract. And then we have a contract over here that you have with a security company that prevents anyone from going in there. And on both contracts, the handwriting appears to be the same. So is it your intention for me to enter into an agreement for me to come in and enter in your house and take anything I want to and defecate in the middle of your floor? Is that your intention? No. I'm asking you a question. Is that your intention?
No.
Well, then, if it's not your intention, then how in the hell could that be your signature?
And can I add something in this for William? William, if you understand that a lot of what Tommy teaches is how to express your will, and that what has been given to you by the system from the time you were first learning from the system was how to not express your will, I think your questions will be answered by that. Right now, you don't know how to express your will other than through signature, but there are many other ways, good ways, profound ways to express your will.
Well, I'm sure I did a lot to learn. I have no question about that.
And that's a good point that George brought out. And see, these kind of discussions is how you learn. Because what she just told you is absolutely right. They get you to express your will via forms and contracts that they have already created that's going to be detrimental to you. So if you don't understand how to control the documents that they have created or how to create your own and express your will via your own documents, you're toast. And so with that alone, If I'm out here telling you to go through these processes and to fill out their applications is getting you to express your will, and what it says that you are abandoning your God-given protection right, or your divinely protected rights of the Constitution of the United States as one of the members of one of the several states of the Union to come over to our corporation and be a resident, a citizen subject slave, where Congress has plenty of powers and Congress can make laws to do whatever the hell they want to do to its subjects. That's what you're doing when you fill out their applications and you don't know what's going on. So if any man is out there, Winston Strout, I don't care if it's Winston or Jack Smith or whomever, David Clarence, if they got you, or TDK, if they got you filling out these forms and these applications, that's exactly what you're doing. You're not operating from the private side. The private side is like, what the private side means is not acting territorial to the corporation, period. You are on one side or you're on the other. You can't have it both ways. So if you're going to be private, you have private, God-given, unalienable rights that are protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. That's where you're going to be. And if not, you're going to be under public policy, where you have no authority. And the government is not doing it. You're doing it to yourself. You're a sovereign. And you're saying, I'm giving the general capacity signature. I'm recognizing, acknowledging, and I receive and accept anything Congress wants to do to me. That's what you're saying. And so when they slap the hell out of you, pull you over, jack you up, makes you down, you agree to it.
13-7.
Have I made that abundantly clear?
Yes.
So, with that said, and I say it again, if there's anyone out there teaching you this, and they're not teaching you the very basics, because the only way you can express your will, I mean, think about it. Before you can even write a term paper, or anything of that nature, you take a course in English, and you learn, you build your vocabulary up, and you learn what a verb and subject agreement is. You learn some other things. You go, they take English literature, where they learn all of those literary techniques like iambic pentameter, onomatopoeia, dactyl, all those alliteration, all those literary devices, and they show you how to use that in your writing, and show you how you can use compare and contrast. They show you methods in which to express yourself. So they're giving you certain terms, so that you understand that society. This is why they say, well, you go to our school must be accredited. You must go to one. In other words, they want a school that's designed to be consistent with their system of programming. In other words, they're saying they make you feel that if your school is not accredited, that it's not good enough. They make you feel that way, but that's really not the objective. The objective is really to have a system, or the system that you use, it must be consistent with the prevailing rule. It must be consistent with everything, and that is control. If I have power, and this is what you have to think about, if I miss 10%, that rules the 85%, and there's a 5% that knows how the 10% manipulates the 85%. Now, if I want to remain that 10%, and I want to remain empowered, do you think I'm going to set up a system that's going to give the 85% power to remove me from power? Think about that, y'all. So everything about that system is to keep you asleep and have control over you. That's why they're constantly pushing you forms, because every form and application you fill out, you're making a declaration. And that declaration is, I bow down to you, Satan. I kiss your ring. Rather than creating your own documents, or knowing how to do that, or how to control their documents. In other words, what you're saying is, When you do that, you're saying, "Get thee behind me, Satan," because he knows that he's got to get you to some conduct that recognizes, acknowledges, and receives and accepts his satanic system. And his system is based upon everything, that which is 180 degrees opposite of what is right, of what is natural, or what is in relation to the laws of nature and nature's God. I don't give a damn what they say. You cannot justify. You just can't justify homosexuality. I'm sorry. Basically, everything that exists in nature, even if it's a worm or something like that, it both has male and female. And the parts. That's just bottom line. Everything in nature exists of male and female. But if you go to some animals, they both possess, they possess both those mechanisms that's necessary to recreate or reproduce. So how the hell can you can't tell me, you can't make the argument that it's natural and that it's okay. That's what the system allows you to do. That's how it gains control. It does everything, and that's what's most important. In order to understand how that system works, it's always designed to do 180 degrees of what is correct. And if you start learning how to think opposite of what the system's trying to get you to do, you're in good hands. They're trying to induce you to contract with them. So what are you saying? There must be a way. I don't have to contract with them. Do I have a right to use common law? Yes, you most certainly do. Do you know how to trigger that? Yes, we do. And one of the most powerful things is full faith and credit. If they acknowledge that you got that, you have it, you not only do you have the documentation and you made those documents yours, do you know how to say these things as though a voice say? You always got that constitution in place that you are the beneficiary of, that they have agreed as an agent to bow down to. If they don't accept your documents or what you're saying, they're not in office. And then you have to think about the mechanism of how risk management works, how that can be used as a tool. But all you have to do is go trip the U.S. Constitution, and it says they must give full faith and credit. They got to do it. No one can stop you from using common law. So you heard people talk about courts of chancery. That is not the way to go. You don't have to even go there. Any other questions? So the question was from Indiana. He says that those would be the benefits. Those are the benefits of being a beneficiary to the Constitution of the United States of America. It was put there by the so-called founding fathers to protect your God-given rights, your God-given private rights. And your rights are only private if you stay in relation to the laws of nature and nature's God, where there is no limited liability, where you use coin money, and all those other things. So I'm going to ask everybody, chime in, and I'm going to ask you, is that understood? Does everybody get that?
I do.
Okay. Any questions? Any statements?
Yeah, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
When can we look forward to being involved in your class? What kind of timeline are you thinking about that? Can you share that? Or
I am. It's just that there's a vast amount of information, and I want to put this together with just the very basics. I use various tools. You know, I like I say, as far as the syllabus is concerned, that's probably the most difficult part right now. And I need to have some other things in place that I'm working on as well, because I want to have the documents and stuff for the school. Those are being created. I got those created, and I need to have those. I need to give notice to the corporation of its existence, not that this is taking a benefit. That needs to be in place. And then the syllabus, there's tons of information. And and I'm trying to make it concise. I want it to be concise and specific. I don't want it to be forever because I'm going to, basically hit you with a lot of stuff. Not a whole great deal of stuff, but it's going to be interesting, and you're going to have fun, and you're going to be able to see that. So that's probably the most difficult part. But I'm really trying to do this in 45 to 60 days. But that's why I was trying to hold these little calls so that people can come in and get an idea or maybe present something. And like I said, I'm not here to give you total answers to your specific situation, because once you come in to go the course and you get that basic foundation, you don't need me. You don't have to be dependent upon me. You got everything that you need there. When you make a claim, if you all attended any one of the seminars in Ohio or in Arizona, I basically, he was giving you the foundation to vet any process that's being presented to you. I laid the foundation. I gave you the case sites. We went over the cases so you could learn how to take the language directly out of the case to help you in expressing your will. You don't have to reinvent it. I gave you a list of terms which are essential to you to understand. And once you get those things down, then I gave you examples. I gave you examples showing you the bullshit that David Clarence was presenting to you. I'll show you the stuff that Boris is talking about. I'll show you the things that Jonah Bay is talking about. And I'm not even going to open up my mouth. And I will give you court cases, and I will give them to you for you to analyze, and you'll be able to take that litmus test or that form that you have, and when you see the gross flaws and mistakes that are there, you should get on your knees and pray that you were not a victim of the system, because that's exactly what they do. The system is not really attacking, it's not moving, because you're still operating within its walls. But the minute they see that, man, you're outside and you know how to will the upper hand on them, they got you. I mean, you got them. And that's what they're not teaching you. The very basic things that I'm teaching you right now, it gives you the power. It shows you that I've always had the power. They told you that in the movie. Who's the boss? All that stuff on there is the fiction. And when Dorcas says I wanted to leave, the angel showed the good witch or whatever it was, showed him and said, you've always had the power. And she said, you always had the power. All you have to think about, get your mind together and click your heels. Well, what did the heels and what did the shoes, what did the slippers represent? Your signature. Your conduct. That's what all she had to do is close her eyes and say, there's no place like home, and click her heels. That's conduct. Because when she said that, there's no place like home, that's all she could see was home. And if that's all she could see, and she couldn't see this other thing, then it doesn't exist. Don't you understand that the United States never had a constitutional convention? Do you understand what that means? Does anyone understand? Can someone tell me what that means?
Yeah, they did not, or they did?
They did not have a constitutional convention. And if they did not have a constitutional convention, what does that mean?
It's not a lawful document.
They don't exist.
That's right.
So if they don't exist, how is it that they're coming into existence? Well, you're the sovereign.
Because people are afraid.
No, if you're the sovereign and you put your signature on something, then you're saying that they exist. You're animating. That's another term. Animation. You've heard these animated cartoons, that means they make it lifelike. That's why they call it animating. So when you put your signature on a document that's unrestricted, you're giving life to that fictional person that they created within their system. They have it there. Remember what I told you. United States is like a play. And when you go see a play, or you read a book, or in a play, you have a script, and you have characters. And those characters have already been assigned a script or a role. The script has already been determined for them. And then what you have is an actor who comes in and animates the character. The actor is not acting of his own will. He's merely carrying out, animating the character for which the script has already been written. Every time you create these applications and do all this crazy shit excuse my language, that they're telling you to do, you're animating a character in the play called the United States. And what they're saying is you're animating the character of someone who has a diminished capacity as a resident, U.S. resident person or subject slave. It's all diminished. That's what you're doing. That play is really a fiction, but you're the one who gives it life when you go in as an actor and you animate. Is that clear?
Yes. Tommy, I want to hear on Indiana. Would it be also, and would it be safe to say that you have already, in a sense, through the processes, and I know that you studied quite a long time, and I have a lot of respect for the amount of knowledge that you've accumulated, has the time come for you to be exercising those liberties, exercising those abilities to contract, exercising the ability to pursue of happiness with property, that you have already accomplished that and are now passing on that knowledge so that others can gain that knowledge and can do it for themselves?
Exactly. It took me. Let me say this, if I may. And I hear me mention Ben and Joyce's name because they were the ones that I work with and continue to stay after the debacle in Arizona. And there are things, and so I don't want you to think that my comments are self-serving, because they know how much material it is, and they understand that, to carry the stuff, it took me a while. I mean, God just gave me the ability, in a sense, to break it down, an attempt to put it in a more palatable form for you all, and it took me quite years to do it. It really just came to a crescendo here within the last 2 years of dealing with David Clare. So in a sense, I thank him for his deception and his fraud, because it pissed me off to the point to where I had to go back and vigorously revisit what I was taught. And in doing so, certain things was just revealed to me. I have a blueprint. Like I said, I suffered a stroke, but I have that blueprint, and as we're going through these things, I have those documents created, and I'm prepared to take them to the next level, but financially and my health did not allow me to do that. So as I go through these things, I'm going through these things with you, but I know they have been proven out because of the person and the man who taught me, and those while I was attending the classes had already accomplished that. They had already done that. Okay, so now I had to take this information and work with it and put it in the form to where I understand it, where I can express my will, and I clearly see the distinction between the two systems and know where my power is and know how to trip their level. See, the object is not to go and educate the cop on the side of the street. It's not really to go and fight with the peon at the front desk. It is being able to come in and see that the matrix is the problem. That's the computer. That's the system. When you know who you are and you are operating as the people of the state, then you express your will via your documents and via your identity. And because you know all the elements, which consist of time, place, space, and plane of jurisdiction, when they all comport to original jurisdiction, then you have those documents authenticated, you take them to the highest level. But there are certain things that you must do within those documents for them to withstand the test and see that you're operating from another plane, that you're operating from a superior plane. And once you get all those things in places, they have statutes that says that they must maintain accurate and accurate information, but they'll tell you that you have to have state ID. Well, what do you mean state ID? Okay, I got state ID. I have my declarations and things like that, which I have compiled here. I need to take those to the next level, get those authenticated, because once I do those things, they will go into the matrix. And guess what? They can't refuse them, because there's something in Article 4, Section 1 that says you must give full faith and credit to the acts of the state. What does that state mean? That means the state, spelled with a capital S. That means original jurisdiction. So if you know it takes only 3 people to run a state, your mind should start clicking. And if you know how to express your will, and you know how to do that within a document, and you get that authenticated, and they gotta take it, that means you get to shove it up their ass or down their throat, whichever one you want to, they gotta take it. But if you don't know, and you have somebody behind the counter saying you have to fill this out, have you ever wondered, I want to say this, I know this is going off the point, have you ever gone to the airport and they say you must present ID? It doesn't say state issue ID, it just says identification. Because to make you say that you have to present state or state of ID, they're saying that makes it compelling you and forcing you to enter into a contract, wherever there's force in a contract or compulsion, it's void on its face. So they've got to get you to volunteer. So how about you have your own, you have documents that have been created by the state of. And so that's what one has to teach you. So to answer your question, yes, I'm at that point. I have a lot of things on the table, because when I suffered that stroke, it really set me back financially and physically. And I had to go back and put everything together. But in terms of information, I think Ben and Joyce can tell you that it is unceasing. And that's what I want to do, is put you in a position where, and we'll give you example. I'll give you old cases. When I say old cases, I give you cases between 1933. And if you look at those old cases, they tell you exactly how it's done. And it's since they even show you. So it's not something I'm just pulling out my butt and saying, hey, this is the Holy Grail, go with it. I'm actually showing you. I'm actually teaching you. I'm showing you that the information has been vetted. All you have to do is put the time into it and have a different orientation, and you will be successful. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not looking to get 50 to 100 people. I don't want 50 to 100 people. I'm not trying to hold this call like Angela Stark, which is a regurgitation, which is basically a constant regurgitation of crap and hatred, idiocy, legal lunacy. I'm not interested in that. And when there's a certain amount of group and you're working together, then you understand how you go in and how automobile is to be placed in their system without you being charged anything, or if they issue what appears to be a driver's license, 10 years, no fee. No one can prevent you from using the common law. On their doors, on their banks, if you are in the state of, or whatever state of, and you still bank there, they cannot tell you that they do not do business with those who are people of the state, or what we call Arizonans, Coloradans, Tennessee. And if you look in the style manual, it will tell you how you refer to those who are members or those who are people of the several states. They call them Tennesseans. They didn't say anything about residents, and they didn't say anything about U.S. persons or citizens. They said this is how you refer to those members of the original states. And that's what they call them. So if you are Tennessean, it does not say on that bank door that they do not do business with Tennesseans or Georgians, upper lowercase. So if you know which level to pull, because remember, they're there to serve you, and if you have all your ducks lined up in the row, they got to submit. If they don't, they're not in office. Or they're depriving you of a right. No one can deprive you of using the common law. But that's just part of it. So I think I answered your question. That's why I am now. And when you come to this course, you'll be able to see it. You'll see the cases. You'll see what I'm doing. So I mean, I'll let you see exactly what my documents look like, because the whole purpose of it is to show you how to create your own. And it's not really that difficult. When I say create your own, I don't mean where it's self-serving. So you can go out here and create a document and think that you're going to put create a document, and you think you get it notarized, you get it authenticated, blah, blah, blah. But that document can be self-serving. But remember, I said that you're one of the people of the several states, and you are the state, and it only takes 3 people to run the state. So by me saying that, what would you think you have to do? Can you answer that question? You are the state, you're one of the people of the state, and it takes 3 people to run the state. And the other side is bound by Article 4, Section 1 to recognize, acknowledge, and receive and accept the official acts of the state, territory, or the jurisdiction, or those areas over which the jurisdiction of the United States extend. Now, based upon what I just told you, you are the state. It takes 3 people to run the state, and the other side must give full faith and credit to the official acts of the state. Anybody? Hello? Anybody want to take a shot at that?
Would that be oneself, 2 other than oneself, individual as witness?
Yes.
Would they include?
You're so close. You're almost there. Go ahead.
Boy. Now, creating one seal would be an officiation of
your signature, your seal.
Okay, then it would be the signature and or the thumbprint if that's even necessary.
No, no. I'm gonna give you a clue. I'm gonna probably just tell you. Listen, you 3 people, you are the state, and those 2 people, you're all going to cross witness for each other. But before that, you must invoke your law form, and you must be taught how to do that. And when you do an act, the other 2 are going to tell that they witnessed the other one, or they witnessed you make that document yours. And they will also pretty much say how they came to know you, where you are, time, place, space, and plane. They will both do that for each other. Everybody cross witnesses for each other. And they're all from the state of. And if they know you to be, see, when you talk about citizenship was never something that was determined by federal government. It was only the states who could determine who was going to be a citizen or not, or a part of it. You follow me? So, if I have, and if the people are the state, and the power emanates from the state, and the people say that you did a certain act, or you did this, and they have always known your allegiance to be there too, and they witness you make those documents yours, which is your declaration, which expresses your political will, and they see the identity document, and they say, yes, I know her, and I know that to be her, she was here, blah, 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 been here for X number of years, or whatever. When they state that, and somebody else cross witnesses that they did that, and then you take that to the notary, you have to make sure time, place, space, and plane, that everything comports with the original jurisdiction, and that notary affixes her seal to it, because the notary goes both ways, and then you take it up to the Secretary of State for so-called that corporate state, because they serve both ways, and what they're saying is they witnessed that act, and they witnessed those 3 people. Those three people came up and they signed. They all signed, and they witnessed that whole act takes place territorial to the United States of America. And what happens is, once the notary does that, the Secretary of State for state of has recognized, she's basically saying that the signature of the notary was in office, so therefore the document is official, and then you take it up to another level and have it authenticated by the U.S. Secretary of State. And when you take it up to the U.S. Secretary of State and get that authenticated, now you have a document that expresses your identity and the declaration. Why do you need the declaration? Can you tell me why you need the declaration? Can anybody out there tell me why you need the declaration?
To bind them.
No, you need the declaration. The declaration basically tells you what your future intentions are. Everything is based upon intent. So you have to know what to put inside the declaration. You have to know how to express your will. And you have to know.
Okay, I misheard you. Yes.
So you have an identity document, and you have identity document, and you have a declaration. And the declaration, basically, you're telling the world what your future intentions are. How about it might be my intent never to contract territorially to the United States?
That's a good one.
And if that's your intention, and you have that document authenticated to the highest form, so if someone ever comes to you, you show them that document, and you're able to express it, little boy said the concept as well, I can accept that. The hell you not? This is from the U.S. Secretary of State. What the hell do you mean? That's one of the highest officers in your world. You are going to recognize this, because if you don't, you're stepping outside the scope of your authority, and you're damaging my private rights, and we go to the shit out of you.
Okay, so that actually, within itself, corrects anything that is under that might be deemed as a mistake. It overstands all from that point forward.
Your will, you're expressing your will. No one can express that but you. That's why they need your signature, because of your signature on their documents. You're expressing their will to be one of their citizen subject slaves. How about you don't need that damn documents? How about you got documents that's been created and witnessed by your state? It only takes 3 people to run the state, because that's where all the power comes from the beginning. Didn't it tell you that all the power originates from the people?
Yes, well, you just gave me my answer, and it's very simple, and I've been looking for it and looking, so...
Say that one more time. It's very simple, right?
It's very simple, and I accept that, because the simpler it is, the more true to my heart it stands.
So do you understand when these people come out here with all these complicated processes, that you understand that this gal and it's flawed, and in a sense there could be some deceit, there could be some fraud? It's when you break it down to this basic element, what we just covered, that destroys probably 99% of the processes that are out there.
Well, it's so complicated to even think about, do I really want to activate this stuff, and testing the waters and putting things off and taking my time and being patient, and yes, I accept simplicity.
And so when you got that information I just told you, if you have those 2 witnesses and you're the third party, since all the power emanates from the people, and they say, yes, I know her, I know how to do this, I know her to be one of the people, blah, 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 and you've expressed that, and they've identified you, yes, I know that to be her height, and I know that to be her weight, I know that to be her peers or whatever, and I know that that's in the right-hand corner is a photographic likeness of her, blah, 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 blah. And once that stuff is notarized, what you're saying is all this took place territorially to the United States of America, and in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America. Okay? And that person, so therefore in their system, they must give those documents full faith and credit. Now once you've taken that up to the U.S. Secretary of State, and you present that document, and you go to a bank, and you say, this is who I am, and I want to open a bank account, do you think that bank is going to tell you no? It probably will on a lower level, but if you show that you're an attorney to somebody like that, they're going to, because they can't discriminate. And then, if they didn't, they would be operating under deceptive commercial trade practices, because they didn't tell you on the bank's door that they do not do business with Tennesseans or Georgians or Coloradans. Is that clear?
What about Michiganians?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. When you look at it, that's why you'll be given the style manual, and the style manual will tell you how you refer to the people of the state.
I got a question on that style manual. I've been looking at it. I can't remember. It's been a while since I was looking into other things, but just a simple, basic style manual. Because I know that there's different versions out there. Could you post that in an email or a link to it?
Well, you get that when you come to class. I have that information. Whatever you refer to, you'll have that. But it's the government style manuals, and it'll tell you. I may be able to find it in one of my documents, and you'll be able to see a list of the 50 several states. It tells you how the people are referred to of that state.
Okay, I do want to go into one other style manual, and it's more on a metaphysical level, on the breakdown of the words and the true essence of that. Do you have anything like that? Because mine was taken from me.
Well, no, I probably don't. I just use black fourth, and I use black sevenths, and I mostly use black fourth because I'm not really concerned with what's in black seventh. They doesn't apply to me. But, let's see, still, because I can say this double voice 8, I haven't created the documents I've created, but I haven't taken it to the next level that they have, but I didn't finish what I was saying. You have your identity documents, and when someone tells you must have state-issued documents, excuse me, I do have documents that have been issued from the state of. Can you follow me? That goes to show you that they don't know. They don't even know what a state document is. And so when you pull that document out and they have your Secretary of State, then you have to say, well, you can see here, these are official, these are authenticated, and you must give it full faith and credit. Are you saying that you're not going to give a document that's been issued by the United States Secretary of State? You're not going to give it full faith and credit? Are you saying that? Because if that's what you're saying, you don't have a job. And say, please put that in writing for me. And if they put that in writing, they did. I mean, it's going nowhere. They're toast. They cannot deny that. How are you, the agent, going to tell a principal what he can and cannot do? And the principal is from where all the power was derived from in the beginning. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yes.
You're the principal, they're the agent. As long as you remain in original jurisdiction, once you traverse the territory of the United States, you become the citizen subject slave, and Congress becomes the sovereign. And all those corporations, they are under they're the territory. They are the territory on which the jurisdiction of the United States extends. And Congress has exclusive legislative jurisdiction or plenary powers in anything that's in the territories. See, it just really kind of gets into a basic understanding of the Constitution. I need to even spend more time studying the Constitution of the United States, because in there lies all of the poison pills for the other side. Now, another thing is I want to discuss with you. When we talk about, you hear the cops say, well, I pulled them over, and they ask them what was the probable cause. Do you understand that in the original jurisdiction there's no such damn thing as probable cause? If someone pulls you over, detain you, you're going to have a sworn out affidavit and a warrant from a court of competent jurisdiction as to why they detained you. Probable cause is an operation of law in the system that exists in their system. You have a tag on the back of your car. His probable cause is probable. No, I'm not asking you specifically. I'm just making a point. The cop can pull you over and say, well, he sees that tag on the back of your car, so he says, well, he has probable cause. He has the right to pull you over to make sure that all of your the lights and all this stuff are functioning properly, because you've entered into commerce and you've entered into a contract that says you will maintain the equipment, everything in operational condition. So he has the right to pull you over to make sure that that's going on. That's his probable cause. But how about if you're not contracted with them, you don't have, and if you do have a tag on there, the tag has been entered into their system where they do not stop you. If he runs that, if he runs a tag, he runs it, and it's in their system. He's bound to obey his system. If it says do not stop you, he doesn't stop you. If he does, he stops you outside the scope of his authority, and he can be sued. And not only can he be sued, but so can the agency that he worked for. So the object here is creating the highest form of evidence that they cannot overcome, and then you shove it down their throat or up their butt, and then you're going to say, well, tell me, how do we do that? And that I will not do until you come to class, because you have to see this thing in its whole entirety. But the idea is, once you know that, they have to take it. Well, there are certain areas, just like the credit. You know, they tell you, your credit report, they basically tell you if you have erroneous information on your so-called corporate credit report, in that whole system, they said you have a right to challenge it. So how about, is anyone familiar with the lien system? Does anyone know Does anyone know what lien means? L-E, let me see, L-E-I-N. Does anyone know what that means?
Well, they bind it.
Well, what a lien means is here's the process. I want to make it clear from you. Once you have the proper documents from the state of, that is your identity documents and your declaration, and you've taken it to the highest form. The next thing to do is to inject it into the matrix, and the matrix is their computer system. Okay, and they have laws. They have laws that basically say when they have a system called lien system. It's Law Enforcement Information Network. Okay, that's what all of your state troopers and all of your municipal corporations are attached to. Now, what happens when you have the evidence of the highest form and you've collected the record within the lien system? What does that do for you?
I won't show up on their system anymore. I'll be removed. That will get nasty.
Or it will be show up on their system, but they know they're not to engage you.
Is that like the do not engage list that they're talking about? Okay.
Exactly.
I love this. I've got a question. Maybe another example. I know that everybody uses the driving, but a lot of the driving turns into, and other instances turns into warrants. And you spoke about the sworn out affidavit and the warrant. But what makes it valid if they do have those by a judge?
Well, they can have it. Not for you if you're in the original jurisdiction. They have a totally different court system.
Okay, so it's no.
That's why it has no effect on you. They can't. Only way they can issue, they could never issue a warrant because number one, you're not going to be driving. And the only way you have, if you can hold a driver, there could be a driver's license. You can have a driver's license. You know, you can have one of those, but you've already taken care of it in the computer where they have to give it to you because their cops on the street does not understand contracting. And that system has a right to protect you. So when you go in there from the beginning, in the premises, from the beginning, when you talk to these people, you're not just going to fill out a basic application. You're going to take it to another level, and you take it to the attorney and say, this is who the hell I am. And bottom line, since your people out there don't understand the nature of contracting, you're going to issue me some documents that basically state at the top of it, the state of, not state of, or not the state of in all caps. And when they check on that document, when they look into that, when they look into the computer, it tells them do not stop. But it doesn't appear that it's any different from anybody else, but you understand that it is.
Okay, earlier where it actually overrides and overstands all of the previous.
Because you've taken care of it in the premises. You just did not fill out their forms in the application. You communicated with someone as to what your law form is and who you are, and they're bound to acknowledge it. And what you're saying is you have a duty to protect me. Your cops don't understand that that I'm not required to have a driver's license for me. They don't understand the nature of contracting. So to protect me, so that I'm not killed or shot down, you're going to put me in the system. I'm going to have this so-called, it's not, it appears to be a driver's license, but it's not. It's merely if the person doesn't want to ask you for identification, you have that. But the total arrangements of that document was totally different than it was to someone who has just filled out an application. That's what I'm saying makes sense. So what I'm saying is all this could be avoided when you go in and you talk about registering a car. You're not registering it. You tell them you only need special plates. This is who you are, and they have a duty to protect you. Because your cops they don't understand on the side the nature of contract, and they don't understand that if I don't have a contract with you, or if I don't present all the stuff that they're asking me for, if I don't present that, that means that I'm not bound. I'm not compelled to any specific performance. They don't understand that. They just understand that if you don't show it, then we got a right to take you in. No, it's when you show the documents, that's what gives them the opportunity or operation of law to do what they're doing. That's what gives them the authority to make out probable cause. But if you don't have that, they say, oh, we're going to take you in and hold you for 72 hours. How about you already, when they ask for a driver's license, you show them that driver's license, they run it in, they come back and say, oh, I'm sorry to have stopped you. We'll say, well, why didn't you run the plate? Because they ran the plate on the car. You already taken care of these things in advance, so when they run the plate on the car, it tells them do not stop.
Okay, so it would be
because in their system they have already recognized and they know that you are a different status and a different standing, and that if they stop you and if they detain you, they know automatically on its face they have opened themselves up to a a claim, and that claim can be taken through the court system under diversity, because you are from a different law form than they are, or you go to risk management and you hit them up that way for violating your private rights. Okay? Your constitutionally protected rights, because they had no authority. So the best thing for them to do is to make sure that they don't receive any liability, and that is to issue the documents whereby which instructs their policy enforcement officers, don't engage you. We don't need the liability, because our objective is to collect, not to pay. And in doing so, if they do pull someone over, they stand a chance of opening up Pandora's box. And then the whole damn thing comes crumbling down. So when you go to them in the premises and you take care of these things in the premises, you don't have to worry about this cop approaching your car, asking you for insurance and asking you for driver's license and insurance. Because once he checks his computer, that's what they're supposed to do. It says, do not stop, do not detain. Because you have given them notice, and if they don't take the necessary steps to protect you, that's an admission on its face that is willful and intentional treason, and to cause you harm and to violate your private rights.
Okay,
I don't know how to make it any clearer.
No, you made it very clear, but you did bring up one little wiggle worm that I'm a high interest in. Being in honor of the state of, forget the word of, but establishing one's status, where do we fall with the liability of insurance and the birth certificate? I mean, all that wiggle worm of God forbid moments.
Say that one. Well, see, that's another thing. That's why the automobile could be placed in another entity that can be properly insured. So if you are involved in maybe an accident, you don't own it, some other entity controls it, and that entity, that's the entity that has the insurance if need be. But once again, if there is an accident, where did that accident take place? Did that accident take place on the soil of, or did it take place in the corporation?
Well, probably in the corporation with me, it would be the sole house.
That's the only place it could take place, because that's the only place you're going to acknowledge, unless you go into their court and make a special appearance or hire an attorney or sign the document improperly. Whichever.
Okay, so how would I keep being in honor with something like that? I know that the agency corporate would have the insurance, and they're tied to that, and they would have their contract for their liability, and me, as the sovereign, would be as a normal living human being and liable for my own repairs and, the normal stuff of the day. And that would apply to any catastrophe of nature. So how does this apply with, we won't have any benefits, so we would just cover ourselves as we move through life?
Well, that's what you're supposed to. That's how you govern yourself when there's no limited liability. See, when you're in God's will, you have to be totally responsible for your acts, and that's how you maintain order. But see, when it's not you per se. When it comes to automobiles, those are other components to follow. My primary thing is helping you to learn, distinguish between the two jurisdictions as to who you are and where you are and what you're dealing with. That gets into something else. But if you go on there and still, if there is insurance, if you have insurance on there, you still can control the insurance contract with your signature. And the bottom line is, not you, the bottom line is, as long as you make the payments on that automobile, then basically the insurance is going to cover you. But it does not include you waiving your godly bestowed right. Exactly.
Okay, so that is the correct way to get into a contract to allow for services rendered so that one can remain in honor no matter whether it's home insurance or a car or
you have to be taught that. I don't still want to give out bits and pieces because people are trying to go out here and do these bits and pieces and not seeing it in its totality.
This is my common sense. These are the issues I've been looking at, so I will be quiet for a while. You've given me a handful, and I'm very grateful. I'm great.
I encourage your participation, see, because when you ask questions, it pulls certain things out of me. There's so much in me, I don't know where I want to begin to deliver. So when you ask questions, that's the only way you can learn this stuff is by asking questions. And people don't get that. You have to participate. You have to ask questions. You have to wrestle with this stuff. You have to practice it.
Yeah, I live by learning. I live by living it. Learn by living it. That's it. I learn by living it. Yeah, I've got so many avenues.
So the questions that you just ask, how is it that we made it honor? Just because you have an insurance contract, the bottom line is you said whatever the money in the account is, I'll pay that. You just cover the vehicle. But by no means am I waiving my rights, and by no means am I waiving my rights, powers, privileges, remedies, and immunities in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America. What is the remedy? The remedy, what does remedy mean? You have your own, you get to choose your election of remedy. That means remedy means you get to choose the method in which a controversy is going to be resolved. Are you going to resolve that controversy under the guidelines of the Constitution of the United States of America, or are you going to resolve that matter under U.S. Constitution? Which one are you going to choose?
I'm going to choose the Constitution, and I know that I've had those rights.
Wait a minute, which Constitution?
The organic Constitution.
That's my point.
Republic.
That's my point. So you can swing. That's what you do initially. There's so much that goes without prejudice in where you do things. See, when you sign without prejudice, and you all need to look. I'm going to give you information here. You need to look up 28 U.S.C. 1746-1, and you need to understand what that means.
Okay, say that one again to me because I've been doing it without prejudice on my signature.
Yeah, but when you use without prejudice on your signature, you have to understand what without prejudice means. Because if you get pulled somewhere, the judge asks you, well, what do you mean by without prejudice? Well, I'm reserving my rights. What rights are you reserving? You got to know how to respond to that. And if someone asks me that, how would you answer? How would you respond to that?
I'm not going to answer because they already got me in a fight script, and the only thing I could put down was duress, and I need to follow through on that. So I won't speak on it until I can get some more, under my belt, so to say, to be correct.
Right. So in other words, but it's okay to use it. You can use it, but if you get called on it, you can't even do what the boy say. The presumptions are going to stand with you. But when you need to understand how to use 28 U.S.C. 1746. One, we need to know to understand. You need to see, these are the things that I'm showing you or that I'm telling you about, and you can bet your ass out there, and pardon my language, that no one out there is teaching you this. And it's not teaching you on a form where you can understand it and you can apply it. It's always some complex method where they keep you there for 3 or 4 days and you're learning a bunch of crap and you're paying hell of dollars for it. It will prove later on that once you get this foundation, what it will prove when you go back and look at what they're presenting is that I'm not saying that they're not knowledgeable, but I'm saying their processes are flawed.
Yes, that's what I'm moving forward on eventually.
If you take what I just told you, these two calls we had, and you look at some of the processes out there, you will see, oh my goodness.
Well, I've made some mistakes.
So when you that's the key, folks. Knowing who you are, where you are, time, place, space, and plane, creating your identity document, creating your identity, establishing your identity, and expressing your will. That is a matter of record. Having that authenticated, injecting that into the matrix, making the matrix having to recognize you. I know a man who did this, and he was in NCIC. And whenever anybody ran him in NCIC, it tells them do not detain. But most of your municipal corporations, they don't operate off NCIC. They operate off the LEAN system, Law Enforcement Information Network. So once, just like the credit rules, I'm telling you, you get to correct all this information on the credit bureau, which is all corporate. That same rule applies to the LEAN system. And if you have evidence of the highest order and you tell them anything in relation to this, then boom, you put in your system that they're not to engage. So when they pull you over, they know immediately whatever documentation you have. So say if you have a license or ID, is not the ID that they think. They just see it because that's the only thing they really can see or will acknowledge. Their system is trained. They're trained to only recognize so-called state ID. But they also must recognize those which contains the seals of the Secretary of State and stuff like that. Because they'll say, oh, well, you need to have state ID. Well, excuse me, doesn't it say Secretary of State for the state of? So what do you mean? That's not, and the Secretary of State is the second highest office, well, maybe the Lieutenant Governor is second, but Secretary of State, that's one of the highest offices in the state. Because they're responsible for maintaining records. And so she's saying that this is who I am, these documents are valid, and who the hell are you to say that they're not? I think you better call your superior. And I think if he comes out, he better call city attorney.
Well, they overstand the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Well, you and I know that, but the cop on the beat doesn't know that. And that's why I'm trying to show you the process where we don't even have to even engage them if you take care of everything in the premises. Take care of it in the computer first. And you don't have to worry about being shot down because you want to tell this cop, I don't have any obligation and duty with such a call. He just thinks he's a badass. He thinks he has that badge. He's been trained, and his IQ is not that high to begin with. Most people don't understand cops, their IQs are not that because if it was, they wouldn't be able to basically enforce the system. So the one that you read on the road, the policy enforcement officers, their IQ is not that great. So if they are incompetent, what the hell? I know, you know, me being a black man here in Georgia and being in Forsyth County at night at 12:30 in the morning, and I get pulled over. You think I'm going to spend my time trying to educate this sheriff or whomever he is, a deputy?
No, not at all. No.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put my life in jeopardy. Give me the ticket. I know how to sign it. I know how to handle the contract. When it comes to court time, boom. And if I have everything in there, and I have his name, his business card, he gives me that, then I take him into court, or I'll contact waste management and say, this is who I am. It is known. Is in your signature, deputy. It's all been authenticated, and I have all the evidence to where I was detained. And I was detained, and I was pulled over, and all this without due process of law. And she's going to say, due process? I said, yeah, without due process of law under the Constitution of the United States of America. As prescribed. It says you must have a sworn out, there must be a sworn out affidavit, and then there must be a warrant issued from a judge of competent jurisdiction. He didn't have that. He can't come back later on to swear an affidavit because we're in two different systems. I'm in the Republic. What the hell gives him the authority as one of your agents under the United States Corporation to enter territorially to the United States of America and enforce his legislatively statutory commercial enforcement system? He has no authority to do that. And so he violated my private right. And since he works for you and you're responsible for his acts, which management, you're going to pay me. Or we can go to court. And so that's what I'm saying. That's why we need this group of people to come together and be on the same path, be in the same understanding where we can take it to U.S. District Court. Everybody's going to say, why are you going to U.S. District Court? Yeah, I can go there, but once I invoke my law form and jurisdiction as one of the people, and what my remedy is, that's what that court has to go by. And if it's under diversity, then I show, and I have evidence where this person came territory to the United States and committed treason, they don't have a duty to protect me. Do you think they want that to get out the box? And then everybody use the case that's on the internet and use that same format and start hitting up so-called government.
So basically, this is going to override the need for the court, other than just to recognize our standing.
Say what now?
Basically, this is going to override the need for the corporate court, because how did I word it the right way?
You don't need to go there, but if you have to, you can. You just go to risk management, and once risk management gets tapped a couple of times, they will make sure it's in their system. Or the insurance company will make sure it's in their system. They'll say, when it comes to, you better put in your system that when you encounter anyone who encounters this person, they're not to encounter you, they're not to engage you, because when they do, it will cause us to have to pay out, and we're not going to pay.
So this is the true enforcement that the Republic around the country has been looking for, but it stands within the individual unit first.
Yes,
individual first. And
you have to be your own lawyer.
That's right. Yes.
That's what you're trying to say. You have to be the truth offer.
Right.
And that's what
Eventually everybody will be on board, hopefully quick enough. So
that's what these other things are not showing you. They're telling you need to control this estate. You need to control. You already got a state there. It's called United States of America. That is a trust document. That is an estate, and you are the beneficiary. You just have to learn how to wield your power. And that's what these people in their processes are not showing you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
They don't know.
And people have been going in there and struggling with testing the waters and getting into deep trouble by being able to tester people.
This trial and error.
It is. Well, I'm ready for
So going this way, you're limiting the error. because you're going to be given. I mean, just think about it. How many of them out there? Think about this. How many of them out there with their processes ever provide you? How many of them provide you with proper, with the cases, with the source material which they're speaking?
No, I've been asking, and I have not been able to communicate.
And if they ask you, and if they're able to provide you with source material, that source material, where is it in relation to time, place, space, and plane of jurisdiction? See, I can present you a case, but where is it in relation to time, place, space, and plane of jurisdiction? Where is it in relation to the Republic? Or are you citing the case post-1948 or post-1933, or let's say post-1948? What does that case have to do with me in the Republic? Not a damn thing, basically.
Yeah, I found more evidence against than for. It's hard to find before.
Well, you have to learn how to shepherdize. You have to learn it doesn't matter. I don't give a damn if it goes back to 1828. That's original jurisdiction. It's only in 33 when they did the flip. They did the flip to the democracy, and they didn't put those in the Republic there. It's just saying that, hey, because we got little response from the sovereigns, it is now presumed that everybody wants to be in this experiment in democracy where their sovereignty has been taken, where they've abandoned their sovereignty to the legislature. The legislature now has authority, and they have become citizen subject slaves under democracy. That's what it says. And most of these guys out here can't tell you about that. They won't tell you to talk to you about presumptions, but they don't tell you how to deal with the presumptions. Okay? They'll tell you about them, but they don't tell you how to deal. They don't tell you how these presumptions came about. And they don't tell you that the Supreme Court says that you can't do this experiment in democracy without giving the people due process of law. So when you go into court, they ask you, state your name and how do you plead. And if you state your name and how do you plead, then basically they gave you the opportunity to invoke your law form to make your claims, but you didn't. So since you didn't, you must be like everyone else, silently acquiesce to this experiment in democracy, and we're going to serve your ass. Is that clear?
Well, Tony, I had a question or two. I mean, the ultimate objective here is to stay out of court. I'm sure that's probably what you would agree with if we take care of our situation and our paperwork ahead of time. But I guess I'm wondering, is it necessary in what you're teaching or what you will be teaching, that we will have to be able to, I don't know what is the right word, to threaten any official with lawsuits who deny our rights in any sense, or to take away their bonds, or anything like that, or?
Let's see. That's what I'm saying to you. It's not so much whether the paperwork, is being able to do these things no voice say. And that's why you hear me keep saying, invoke your jurisdiction. And when you invoke your jurisdiction and know who you are, where you are, and when you communicate with them, even your location is important. You must be able to state where your location is, because you can do all of that and give them a domestic location and you live it territorially and they ignore what you're saying. And even if they shouldn't be basically violating your rights, if they should be trying to violate your rights or do anything to you if you know whom you are and if you know who you are and where you are and what you're dealing with in terms of them. Once they know you know these things, it is highly unlikely that they will breach. It's more likely that the cop on the street will, because he doesn't know. So that's why I try to show you methods in how to control the contract and not be anything confrontational with him. And when it comes to the court process, even how to handle it. If you heard what I just said, appearance or a general appearance can be made physically or it can be made via your answer.
Well, the reason why I asked you that is that personally, I'm opposed to lawsuits in general as a matter of principle. I would never sue anyone for anything. Now that may, handicap me perhaps maybe in enforcing some of the things you're talking about. I'm not really sure if someone could learn to do that without having to resort to anything like that.
Well, a lot of times, if you write an excellent letter or communication, a lot of times you can apply things and they know that you are correct. So, for instance, if I am one of the people and I say of the 17 enumerated powers, I deny the law that was granted to Congress, which is what they're under. I deny that a law can be written compelling me to contract territorially with the United States. I, at no time, according to my knowledge, have ever done anything territorial to the United States of America. United States, with the United States. If so, be prepared to overcome my affirmative defenses. Now, and you can also state in there, is it true, is it a fact, is it not a fact? Or you can state it is a fact. And once you state all your facts, you have to come back and say, if you disagree, if the above is not true and not standing, please respond within an X number amount of time, and when they don't, then it will be deemed you acquiesce to my position that what I've said is true. And so, based upon that, anything that you do against me, you're going to, you will be damaging me. It will cause you damage. Now, like I said, you can go to risk management and tell them what occurred. Risk management, you can make out a claim that way, or you could go to the court system and do that. But see, as a right, and Joyce, just if you don't know, if you still in the class, you can tell you that was a case that I can't say it verbatim, but that was a case where that it stated in Supreme Court case that you must adamantly assert, your political will. And if someone is, if someone is encroaching, you can give them notice to cease and desist. That's the first line. And if you don't feel like you want to go to risk management, but I'm thinking when you give them notice and you have all these things contained, or you have all that's necessary within your communication, your notice, then if they have any sense on the other side, that should stop the fight there. But if they want to go ahead after being given notice and already acknowledging your position to be true, then whatever they do to you was done willfully. Okay? And if you want to make out a claim against that, you can. If you don't, then
the question I would have at that point would be, if I was wrong, rather than pressing for a claim, where's the role of?
Well, this is what you normally do. If that person, if you have documentation that you have given a notice and everything is official, and they come against you, then you go above them. See, in their system,
I don't know if you heard what I said. I'm asking, what is the role of forgiveness in such a situation? Is that an option?
If you want to forgive them, you can. You're the solver. That's up to you. If you want,
even if they wrong me and they damage me, is forgiveness an option in your
if that's what you want to do, if you want to forgive them, that's fine. But forgiveness usually doesn't take place. And if you're coming from Scripture, it tells you that they must first atone. And if they don't, after someone atones, then comes the forgiveness.
Oh, what exactly do you mean atone?
If they're not willing to admit that they wronged you and ask for forgiveness, then two different things. and turn from their wicked ways and not do those anymore, then they are not worthy of being forgiven. They're not, I mean, that's even in Scripture. You seek atonement from God, He basically say, forgive me for my acts and turn away from doing those wrong acts, and then you ask for forgiveness. But atonement must take place first. There must be a correction. And if they're not seeking to correct you, if they damage you and they're not seeking to repair the damage that they caused, then they're not worthy of being given forgiveness. Bottom line. Now, if you feel like
I think there's a difference between forgiving and granting forgiveness, whether the person asks for it or not. I mean, but that's still you have to be forgiving regardless of whether
no, I don't think so. No, because
we do disagree on that. We do disagree on that because I think
you and I have a different. Let's put it this way: you and I agree to disagree. I am not of that. I think that when you damage someone, you are responsible. I think Scripture holds you responsible for repairing what you have done. Because
I agree 100%.
Right.
I agree.
So if you choose to forgive them regardless, that's a decision you have to make. And the whole point of it is there has to be some correction, and that's the whole thing about the system, that it continues to damage and damage and damage, and no one is calling it into balance. No one is calling it, holding it accountable to make the corrections. So it continues to do what it's doing, and in doing so, there is no balance. And when there's no balance, the system is doomed to fail because it's not operating in harmony with the laws of nature and nature's God. It's just like a wheel. When you buy a tire, let me finish. When you buy a tire, they tell you must balance the tire. Because if you don't balance the tire, then what happens is when you drive at certain speeds, because that tire is not operating in harmony with the automobile and the road conditions and all the other mechanisms, it's eventually going to throw out your front end. You're going to have problems steering that, and eventually the whole thing is going to collapse. There's nothing any different. When something is not in harmony with the laws of nature, it only has a matter of time before it basically destroys that which it is connected to, or it destroys itself.
I think what it should be, you can forgive the act, but however, if you cause harm and damage, he must make you whole. If that man or woman comes to you and says, "Look, I don't have it in me, I'm poor," then at that time you can choose whether to forgive and say, "Okay, your debt is done."
Well, and it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't mean that they have to give you money. They can find another way in which they can make you whole. That's what the whole thing is about, making you whole.
Paint your house, or change the oil on your car for a year or whatever.
Or go do community service. Go help others. Right. And maybe counsel others who have done some of the things that I've done. I think that when someone comes to you with that, and I think it's worth giving them forgiveness.
Once you educate your fellow officers, your co-workers, and tell them that there's people out here like us. In the Constitution. Take a class in the Constitution.
So what I'm saying is, if you want to forgive, you can. But I'm sorry. When you do
sorry. Another question is if what you're going to be teaching would require people to be able to make some sort of a claim against those who wronged them by us perhaps signing as witnesses on each other's documents as we go along in the class, are we going to be required to have to accept any sort of a surety kind of a situation to back up the other one in case they need to go to court? Now that's a whole other issue as well.
No, it isn't. You just don't know what I mean. This has nothing to do with surety. When you're creating documents, when you're creating something in terms of identity and declaration, that has nothing, that's the extent. All you're saying is that these are two people with not a surety. Okay. Exactly.
Okay, I wasn't exactly sure what how far you wanted to take this. But
Yeah, it should never be going to their court anyway. And if you do go to court, you're not going to be setting up a statutory court. You're going to be setting up a court of record. And this is something else you guys need to look up. You need to look up Nisi Prius Court and what is a true court of record according to the Constitution. If you want a court of record to be your remedy, if you want your remedy to be in a court of record, you need to know what a court of record is. If you want your remedy to be in a Nisi Prius court, then you know what a Nisi Prius court is. See, these are all the little basic things that should be covered. And also, those who are the call, you might want to start familiarizing yourself with any meeting, anymeeting.com, because I think that the courses, the webinar is going to be held on that as opposed to GoToMeeting. I haven't made a decision yet, so you might want to start orientating yourself to that. And
what was it?
It's called Anytime Meeting.
Anytime.
Mm-hmm. Or any meeting, I think it's Anytime Meeting, or you can familiarize yourself with GoToMeeting, so the webinar will be held on one of those two forums. Okay, great. And I'm just not all that. I think Skype has been around. I think Skype should be operating more efficiently and proficiently than it is. It's been around pretty much longer than any of the others, and yet I don't see any improvement in its service. So we may have one more call, something when we deal with accessing those tools. And I think this call, I've done enough in explaining, because like I said, I'm not trying to persuade anybody. I'm just merely giving you a foundation that you can take what we've discussed and you can take it and look at what's being presented out there based upon this little small foundation that I've given you. And that in itself, it should reveal why it is important that you, if you can, to attend the class or the school.
Very good. Very good.
So, because a lot just feel out there, they just feel like, hey, we got to go. We know what's going on. I know we didn't give really much notice in terms of this call. So there may be one Thursday when we just give further notice, and that's going to be probably, in terms of dealing with the school, is probably going to be the last call we have that I'm going to give, and everything else will be, hopefully at that time I'll have an email address where everyone can become a part of it, send everything to that email address so I can communicate with you and do a blast email in terms of from any meeting. And we can get to work. But anyone who comes on after that who wants to attend the school, they won't be able to attend any of the other modules until they go through the very first one, because that's where all the foundation is laid, and that's what's going to put everybody on the same page. So when we move forward, we don't have to do any remedial work, because you'll be given the terms. You have to look them up, even though we already have them defined. You need to look them up yourself. And you maybe even need to refer to the case that's cited there. You'll notice that mostly in Blacks 6 or 7, you'll notice that when they define words, they no longer, or they hardly ever give a case site with it, to give you a better idea of how the term is used.
Well, I'm just curious, as far as the timing of the classes, are you planning on doing it maybe once a week, and then we kind of study and get ready for the class, or the problem was I was talking to Wayne especially about my terrible schedule during the weekdays. It's pretty hard for me. I'm doing about 11 or 12 hour days. It's really hard for me to do it. weekends are fantastic.
But those who attend might want to
like Saturday evenings or Sunday evenings are fantastic, but that's just for me. I don't know how other people schedule.
Well, I know that kind of like the weekend would probably, that's something I'll probably be taking input from people. Probably most people like
during the weekdays when I get off work, I'm so tired I can't even think straight. I mean, I really wouldn't be much able to participate, to say the truth, while I'd be falling asleep.
Well, I might set it up where it occurs on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. And so that gives if there are any reading assignments and stuff like that, people can do it in the beginning, or I may just do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not sure. That's something where I'm willing to take input from those who may be planning to take the class. Yes, I do want to try to make it convenient, but just have to do what they have to do in order to get this thing rolling, because I have other commitments as well. But that's where we are. And I just want to say, folks, this is not about ego or anything like that. I am confident. We got answers. I have answers for you, as I've just demonstrated, in these two calls. And you just think about what you've learned today, and you just go and look at what others are putting forth out there. I'm not competing with them. All I'm trying to do is prevent you from possibly from future harm, and to not have to go through a lot of trial and error. So, is there anything else that if you all would just let me know. So does everyone pretty much understand what's been discussed here today? Yes. Hello? I'm from the South. I went to, yes, just look, I like call and response. So if I say check or something like that, just say check. Let me know. So does everyone pretty much understand? Does everyone pretty much kind of understand what was discussed here today? Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
And so that's what we're going to go from. And you have people out here, I just want to say this, they're saying that they're sovereign, and they really don't truly understand what sovereign means. And that's why I also gave their case Chisholm versus Georgia. And there's 3 other cases out there. And so the whole object really of the school is to lay the foundation and to show you where you don't have to be confrontational, because you know how to control the situations in the premises from the beginning. When there's a driver's license, you know how to go there and, basically take care of that in the premises, and know how to sign the document, because most cases they give you just a little small box. They tell you to put your hand right in there. Well, what about if you just put without prejudice and 2 initials? They'll probably say, oh, you can't sign like that. Say, oh, are you giving me legal advice? So, because I have been advised by counsel that my mark of acceptance is any mark that I choose it to be. And that's my mark. Now, notice that I didn't say attorney. I said counsel. Or you say private counsel. Did anybody get that? I said I have been advised by private counsel. I didn't say counsel. I said private counsel, not attorney. Do you all get it? Yeah. Now, they think that when you say private counsel, they think you're talking about an attorney, right? They can't tell you that. And so when you see that right away, then the judge comes up and they show, not that you ever have to present that, I'm just showing you ways in which you control stuff. And you won't have to go to court because once you learn how to answer, once you learn how to make special appearance via what they consider to be an answer, it's not going to go any further. Because what you have to understand is they have to have personam jurisdiction. They have to have, if nothing else, they've got to have personam subject matter and jurisdiction, and it has to be done. And there's also venue. And if they don't have subject matter jurisdiction, if they don't have personam jurisdiction, they can't go forward. And the only way they have subject matter jurisdiction if they're saying that one of their statutes have been breached. Or there's a statute which you breached that a claim can be made upon them. That's what all this is about. So those of you who attended today, I know it's a short notice, and I don't know if others who got that or just feels like it's not, that it's on there, it's a Saturday, so, that's the only time off, and they didn't want to take the time to get involved in this. But the only suggestion I like to make is none of this or anything, there's nothing that's going to work with you if you're not willing to make the sacrifice. That's it. Wayne, are you there?
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
No. That's great at all.
Joyce, are you still on the call with us?
Yes?
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I'd like to say, but probably not now.
Well, no, say just share something with us before we get off here, because that's the whole thing. I want people to understand why they should attend the class. It's not that I'm soliciting, but, you have dealt with me for over a year and a half, and, you have more intimate knowledge about what's going on than anyone.
Well, I want to say to William, no, you don't have to go to court. Sometimes court forces you there, and forgiveness occurs within that system, but you can forgive and still protect yourself at the same time. And no, you don't have to go to court and go into battle. And I really appreciate it. What's the woman's name that was talking and asking so many questions? Whatever your name is, I appreciated your involvement and your questions. They were wonderful, and your perception is very quick. I enjoyed your contribution to the call. In terms,
I thank you, Joyce. I'd like to get more involved, so I'm on the journey with you guys.
Oh, great.
What is your name, by the way?
It's Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Okay, Sherry.
Yeah.
Yes, they will most appreciate it here because it brings out more. It brings out, and it's like it becomes contagious. But people want to ask. But go ahead, Joyce. I'm sorry.
I think I would put into a synopsis my year and a half with Tommy as a roller coaster ride of me being so sure I understood and discovering I didn't know very much, so much as I thought I did, but then understanding, and then another crash with that, and another crash, and another crash, until I actually finally did begin to understand. Thinking you understand this stuff, you get it, you hear a statement, and you think, oh yeah, I get that, makes sense, I really get that. But in application, and in where it all fits together, that's the pieces that are still missing, and there are a lot of them. And Tommy says often, I don't get why nobody's out there teaching. I mean, nobody's out there teaching this. But I do get it. It is so complex. It is so spread out across such a vast amount of legalese that I'm amazed that anybody ever did get it. So that it could be pulled together. I'm amazed. And Tommy isn't the one that got it originally. It was his teacher, but Tommy certainly got it from his teacher, and I'm grateful that he passed it on to me. And I think that's it.
Wow. And that's something she said. You can't. What I have share with you all. You can't find all this in one place. See, there's a man who taught me. He was an economics professor, and he had connections, still has connections, with all of those who are in the think tank. And he was asked to become a part of the cabal, if that's what it's called, and he refused. And he didn't, and they know that he knows. I mean, not that they're trying to kill him or anything like that, nothing, but they understand that he knows. And so the same method that he used to teach me in terms of, teaching you the language, teaching you time, place, space, and plane, and showing you the source materials. And when you get ready to create your documents, I provide you with those cases. And you have to see, and as I provide Joseph, I'm talking about citizenship, there are cases that deal with citizenship. But you have to go and read that. You have to go and work with each other to see what's being said. You don't have to know all the details of the case. You're looking for specific things to support your position. So it's not necessary to know all this, but you have to go, because all this involves money, it involves citizenship, it involves residence, it involves domicile. You're talking about battle of the forms, you're talking next loci, you're talking about body politic, body corporate. So there's a number of these things that you need, and they're not very, it's complex, and just like she said, you have to get this from everywhere. There's no one book on this, because if it was, this thing called the Matrix, or what is called corporatism, would come tumbling down. But it all begins with the basics, and the whole idea was to get you to abandon your position as beneficiary to the Constitution of the United States of America. And they got you to do that in a nutshell via signature, silence, and use. That's how they do it. And you break it down to those three things is how they do it. So if you know how to recognize the methods in which they are getting you to abandon, then you don't abandon. And you hold them to that document as agent, and with you being principal, and the principal can never lose, because once they step in office, they have taken an oath and they are bound by the Constitution. Anything else, Joyce? Or
Nope, I don't think so.
Well, I had one more off-the-wall question. What happens if and when they replace the Constitution with something else?
It doesn't matter. Which Constitution are you speaking of?
Yeah, and which they are you speaking of?
Well, I'm talking about, like, if they're going to scrap the whole thing, maybe go to, like, the North American Union, and we'll be under direct UN law at that point. Where
would they get the authority to do that?
Well, I mean, that seems to be the direction that things are going. I mean,
No, that's the direction they want you to think it's going. That is what they want you to think. But when you really understand where authority comes from and how it works, and they do know that, by the way, they know it very well.
Yeah, they can't change the original jurisdiction indenture contract. They can change their own within the private.
Right.
But that's why you got to distinguish between the both.
That's right. They can convince you that they have done, but they can never actually do.
Remember, the United States is a federal corporation, and their statutes are really nothing but the bylaws for a corporation. And a corporation can change its bylaws as it so sees fit. The question is, are you a part of that corporation? Are you a resident? Are you a U.S. citizen? Well, if you are, yes, that has an effect on you. Okay? If you're not, I don't care if they make a law that says pink is blue and blue is red. I don't care. It has no effect on me. Because I'm not there. Don't you understand? It doesn't exist unless you say so. And how is it that you make it appear via your signature, your silence, and your use? So once you learn how to take care of the signature, and once you learn how to take care of the silence, and you know how to limit the so-called use, they have no control. You haven't abandoned. You control the use. You control the signature, and you control the silence. You're not silent. You don't silently assent. So when you do your declaration, that means you don't silently assent to the things that are going on. You're saying that they have no effect on you. If you don't say anything, then it's deemed that you agree to the system. If you don't know how to control the signature, which says, I recognize, acknowledge, receive, and accept your law form, and I accept anything that Congress wants to do to me, well, give a general capacity signature. Or take the Federal Reserve note out of your pocket and use it. It's a contract. Take the benefit of dischargement. Having said nothing, well, it's deemed that you take the benefit. And in the case with there's a case called Ashwonder, where he tells you if you receive the benefit, and that benefit or whatever they deem to be a benefit, and there's no condition you didn't reserve any rights, then you become a resident. You take the benefit, you're obligated to perform. So you know how to control the use. If you know all these methods in which the system lures you in and gains control, if you know those things and how to deal with them in the premises from the beginning, they have no power over you because you have free will. They depend on that free will that you get from your Creator to say that they exist. And if they have power, you're the one who granted it. So therefore, if there was ever a challenge, and say you went to court between God, where there's God, and you went and there was Satan, you brought Satan up on the grounds that he's doing all these things to you. And what Satan would say to God is, excuse me, they volunteered. Here's their signature. I don't see any conditions. They accepted it, they used, they never said anything, they barely ached about it, but they never declared where they wanted to be and what their intentions were, and we did certain acts, so it's presumed. They never said anything. And you know what God would have to say? You're absolutely correct. Because just like he told Adam and Eve, you are not to eat of this fruit. I have given you pretty much everything you need before I created you. Not one time did Adam and Eve say anything. So it was understood meaning agreed, that they were not to eat of the tree. And so when they did, they breached. It's all in Scripture. If you understand it. See, you have to understand the metaphors and similes and all those things that are being used, and they're not to be taken for their literal sense. Those metaphors, they're symbolic to something. When they talk about Egypt and the children of Israel coming out of there, it has nothing to do with someone in history, because I don't care what anyone says, and this is not so-called anti-Semitic or anything like that, because people really don't know what Semitic means. There were never no people in the past that were enslaved for 400 years. Well, where's the proof? Where's your proof?
Well, where's the proof that they weren't?
The proof of it is that when we go back and you look at the data and you look at the history and you look at what's written on the walls, there's no history. There's no history. In fact, it's even in Scripture where those who said that they were Jews were never in bondage. They said we have never been in bondage out of their own mouth. There's the proof. Yeah, they themselves.
Are you talking about in the book, in the Gospel of John? Talking about John chapter 8 or chapter 10?
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about I'm going back to the original documents from which the so-called Bible was transcribed from. And I'm also talking about unpublished. There is a gentleman, I forget his name, and there's an unpublished thesis where he talks about that, and where he talks about the interpolations that exist in so-called scripture. They were not there, and even unorthodox.
There's a lot of that have written a lot of great.
Let me finish.
Yeah, there are a lot of biblical scholars that would definitely disagree.
We agree to disagree, but I'm telling you, I'm not going upon what anyone else says. I'm going upon my own research, my in-depth research, and I'm saying, it is speaking metaphorically. That is one of the problems that is mistaken. That people think things that happen in Scripture or Bible took place historically, but it is meant to has a prophetic meaning. And that's where they get it confused, because a prophet is one who speaks for things to occur in the future, not something that has happened historically. So most people don't pay attention to Old Testament because they think these things that have occurred, they think these things are historically accurate, and that is not the case. This system that you live in goes all the way back to biblical times, and a lot of it begins even with the Catholic Church and its interpolations of Scripture, and it was all designed to control the people. So if you're here on this call today, and if you think that you've only been lied to about law and not lied to about anything else, you are sadly mistaken. You're absolutely sadly mistaken. So we can agree to disagree.
I understand what you're saying there, but the thing is that you're leaving out of the equation is God. You're basically saying that the Bible was written by men.
Is it not?
Or that it was only written by men.
I'm not saying who wrote it then? Who wrote the Bible?
Well, if you don't believe that the Bible was inspired by God, then it's not worth.
William, how can it? William, I'm going to one second. Let me say this one thing. If you're saying it says that God is the author of peace, Satan, that's what it says. It says Satan is the author of confusion. When I go through that scripture and I go through different of those books, you're saying that man was inspired by God. If they were inspired by God, they would have told the story exactly as it occurs. When you go through each of those books, you see the interpolations. And if you're going by the King James Bible of the Version, it tells you it was diligently compared and revised. Don't you understand what compare and revise means? And do we all know who? This is not we'll have another subject about religion, but I'm telling you, when you talk about King James Version, what was the motivation for him having the Bible so-called translated? See, these are all the things that you have to look at. You can't tell me that if John is inspired and Luke is inspired by God, they're going to tell the story totally different. If you are inspired by God, if you're John and you are Luke and you're inspired by God, you're going to tell the story the same, and it's going to be accurate. Because if it's not accurate and it's not the same, there is confusion. And from that confusion comes chaos. But it says that God is the author of peace and not chaos or confusion. So if one guy is telling me
that was the purpose of why the four Gospels differed. I mean, they were telling the same essential story from a different perspective. If they were all meant to be a carbon copy, there would have only been one gospel. That wasn't the purpose.
Well, the point of it is, if they were inspired, why do you have these vast differences? It's not only that they're telling from a different perspective, but when you get down to the details and the absolute details and even the facts, they totally different. So how can you tell me you're inspired by God to tell me something, and it's totally not accurate. It's not even totally consistent with us.
Some of the differences are actually errors or mistakes or proof that it wasn't inspired. And I'm saying that's not true. Like, just to give you a quick example, there was a case of Christ casting out the demons from the Gadarene demoniac. In one gospel, it mentions one man, and another gospel it mentions two. Now, that's not an error. It just means that there probably were two demoniacs, and one was more prominent than the other. But the higher critics will look at something like that and say, well, see, there's obvious error in the Bible. One says one, the other says two, so let's just throw everything out. That's not the way scholars, anyone should approach that.
But you know what? That's the way it absolutely. What you just said proves my point. Do you understand when they did this? When they had when they were discussing the Bible, they said that the books, when we come back, the books on the table will be canonized into the Bible. So what you're just saying, you just can't throw away this is to go off the point that you just made. And that's exactly how it came together. They said the books, you go study the Council of Nicaea, you go study all those councils, and they will tell you when they were dealing, especially dealing with the King James Version, they came and said all of these books, when we return, all of the books that are on the table will be canonized into the Bible. Now, you've heard of the Apocrypha, and most people will tell you that those are the lost books of the Bible. Apocrypha does not mean lost. Apocrypha means hidden. And even when you look at the Dewey Bible, which is the Catholic Bible, it has more books in it than your so-called King James Version. So how are you going to tell me that this book that is being presented to me, I'm just of that opinion. I'm not of the same.
I don't think my opinion of being inspired either. I don't think so, because it doesn't. They doesn't have.
Wait a minute. Well, who are you to say? Who are you and who are they to just basically say that these books that we put on the table will be canonized in the Bible? Who is it for them to make that determination? And if you really look at the book,
I don't take my authority from the Council of Nicaea, but all they were doing is simply ratifying what the Christian churches had already received as inward scripture before that time. They just didn't invent the Bible out of whole cloth like some people make it seem like they just wrote it all and invented something that, as if, like David Clarence, I've heard him say that the Apostle Paul was somebody they just made up and invented all these epistles that he supposedly wrote. He really didn't even exist in history, and which gives him credence, by the way, for hating the Apostle Paul's writings because there's so much against his Judaizing doctrine. But it's things like that have no basis in history or fact. That a lot of people write all kinds of crazy things that just aren't true. You have to really study these things and read the right sources, not just wacky, alternative histories and theories that people come up with. The main issue with the Council of Nicaea had to do with the person of Christ, whether they believed he was God or whether he was a created being.
And exactly when you deal with that, and when you go, and what provoked that? Why was the Council of Nicaea called, and who called it?
Well, I know that there was a political angle under Emperor Constantine and the whole state-church union thing that came out of that. I'm not saying I'm defending everything at Nicaea. There were some bad aspects about it, but I don't depend upon them for the definition of what I believe. But there is some corroboration of the defense of Orthodox Christianity against heretics, like that fellow Arius, who ostensibly was called to combat his heresy of Arianism, which was a denial of the deity of Christ.
You know what? That's where your mistake is. I think it is a mistake because Arius, the true teachings and the knowledge of Christ that was considered in the East. That was before Constantine decided to get involved. Constantine's only motivation for calling the Council of Nicaea and having all those things was to unify the pagan tribes of Western Europe. That was his whole motivation.
Oh, yeah, I used what really political. I heard.
But to say that Arius was what he was talking about was heresy, that is not true. He was misleading because it wasn't, because these are ones who were getting a hold of Christian or getting a hold of the teachings of Christ. They were just the ones who were coming into the knowledge of it. The teachings and knowledge of Christ was known way before it came to Western Europe. And Arius was basically telling them, and Arius, if you go further and you read about Constantine basically says, well, if you don't fold or capitulate, I got the power, and this is the way it's going to be. Because those who were sitting there could not overcome Arius' arguments, they could not overcome the truth that he was speaking. They couldn't do it. And so this
you're partly right and you're mostly wrong, I'm afraid, in your history. I agree that there was a political angle with Constantine and wanting to enforce an empire-wide version.
Tell me where in Scripture. Tell me anywhere in Scripture that what Jesus taught, he said it was called Christianity. You tell me that. And you tell me where the symbol of the cross comes from, if it did not come from Constantine, who said, by this symbol we shall conquer. Tell me that. Because I know that we used to recognize
that was a union of church and state and a mixture of paganism and a corrupt version of Christianity. And I don't disagree with that. I know that all led eventually.
I ask you a question. I offer you $1,000 to tell me where in Scripture did Jesus Christ ever say what he taught was Christianity?
Well, he said that you.
Let me read it to you. No. I want you to specifically tell me in Scripture where Jesus says that what he's teaching is Christianity.
Well, it depends on how you're defining Christianity.
No. It's Christianity. There's those terms. Christianity. Tell me where Moses taught. This is not even a conversation about religion, because we're going to get off of that. This is supposed about law. Tell me anywhere in Scripture where what Moses taught or Abraham taught that what I'm teaching is Judaism. Please tell me that.
Well, it depends on what is your definition of Christianity. First of all, can you define that for me?
Well, you tell me what Christianity is. You tell me that. What do you think is the definition of Christianity?
Well,
when was the first time the term Christian ever appeared in Scripture? Where did it appear?
It was in the book of Acts where they were first called Christians. I think it was in Antioch.
Can you think of any other place? Is there any other place in that where they were called Christians?
I mean, they were called disciples. I mean, in the book of Acts.
That's not what I'm asking you, William. I'm asking you where were they called Christians anywhere other than. And they were called Christians not by Christ. They were not called, even though they called them, they were
called by their enemies. That's true. That is true. It was
exactly.
It originated as a derisive term, but later on they accepted it as a positive thing.
My point exactly. It's like Constantine said. Constantine said, by this symbol, by this sign, we shall conquer. And when you look at, by this symbol and this sign, we shall conquer. And when you look at the history, that's exactly what it was used for. I didn't say the teachings of Christ. I said Christianity. There's a difference.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you believe that the New Testament is inspired of the Word of God? I guess you probably don't.
No, I don't believe it's expired. I think I can tell you it's prophetic. It's telling you things. It's basically describing what's happening there and what's to come. I don't believe that. I don't believe that part of the New Testament
for you at all.
Is there any what now?
Is there any part of the New Testament that you accept, just a part of it as the Word of God?
There's nothing about. Listen, I said Christianity. I didn't say the teachings of Christ. or Jesus, I said Christianity.
Well, again, how do you define Christianity? How do you define Christianity?
How do I define Christianity? I'm looking at it from a historical perspective and as it exists now. Those who sought to be in power, and if you start with Constantine, his whole thing was to unite the pagan tribes. So what he wanted to do was take the teachings of Christ, and he created that. He adopted it and started calling it. They decided they wanted to call it Christianity. They wanted to have these meetings because there was great disagreement in terms of Christ. So some saying that he's God and that he was born without the aid of a father, blah, 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 blah. Arius and those who were in the East who had a much greater knowledge, because you have to recognize these people who were in the West, and Constantine himself really didn't believe. It was just a tool for him to unite the pagan tribes. That's why he came up with this. Let me finish. By this side we shall conquer. And that's what he came up with. So that whole move was used to use the teachings of Christ, and they started calling it Christianity, and they put it under the symbol to cross to conquer. That's what it was about. Christ did not teach, or his whole message was not to conquer. And that's what Christianity, as it was presented then, I'm not saying all those who believe is to God. I'm not saying I'm not saying the whole, if you look through our scripture, you were taught to submit to God. You were taught to be in harmony with the law of the nation's God. There was really no name given. But when this man took Christianity, and if you read history properly, he used the teachings of Christ. That's why they had these councils, because he wanted to unify all the Western Union and to go throughout the world and conquer under the symbol of the cross. Because the sign that represented Jesus was the fish. That's what they talk about. So when Constantine had all this, it was basically taking control of the people's belief system, just like the Catholic Church did. You go look at the Catholic Church. They merely didn't teach you. They didn't want to teach you anything about Scripture. They wanted you to do catechism. They wanted you to be programmed robots. They wanted to keep the knowledge from the masses of the people. So Martin Luther came along and said, hell no, we need the books in the hands for ourselves so we can evaluate what's being said. So that's what, in the early stages of Christianity, that's what I'm talking about. Jesus did not, if you see what Jesus taught and to see what Christianity is being carried out, they're totally separate. So I did not say that I don't believe in Jesus and what he's taught. I'm just telling you there's a difference between what Jesus taught and Christianity. And most people are not even
I want to do something here between you guys. Just the idea that the Bible is written as a book of commerce, and I want to be quiet, okay?
Wait, they're getting ready to reboot the whole system, and they're going to call it something else. And then they're going to call it Christianity. They're going to call it something else here. And then
well, you know, but my point is, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I know what I believe. And mine is based upon my research. And my research is, and I do what is good. I look and see what's out there, and I compare it, and I contrast, and I do my research. And you're saying historically that there were so-called Jews in Egypt for 400 years, and that they built the pyramids. But when we go back, and I go back and I actually look at Jewish historians and their writings, nowhere did they ever admit, or those who say that they're Jews today, ever admit to being in bondage for 400 years. Now I go back to the source.
Well, I don't know who you're reading, but all throughout Scripture, it certainly is in there.
Well, you're saying through Scripture, but I'm telling you, just as anything else, that Bible, that's what I'm saying, things have to be vetted. We just can't go out because someone says it and not try to look at the facts of it. One of the reasons why the Scripture was written symbolically, and the way it was done, all those literary devices that we spoke about, was to confuse the people and to keep them from discovering the truth of what was concealed therein.
In every era, regardless of King James, he rewrote that Bible to benefit his era and to control his subject.
And what was not only that, the prime motivation, are you familiar, William, with the instructions that King James gave the scholars when they were rewriting, when they were so-called diligently comparing and revising the Bible? Are you familiar with that?
Not with all of that, but I understand there was an influence where he wanted to make sure that they defended the monarchy of England.
No. It wasn't that he wanted to make sure that they defended the monarchy of England. King James' motivation for having them to rewrite the Bible and the scholars was to adjust his to justify his homosexual relationship with Lord Buckingham. That was his motivation, and he even tried to say that there was sexual.
I've heard that before. Whenever I read the King James Bible, it doesn't support that because it's. By the way, I do use the King James Bible, by the way, and it's certainly not.
It doesn't support that. But if I get my hands on it again, on the instructions that King James gave to those scholars who were writing the Bible, what is that going to do for you? Are you going to accept it or are you going to deny it? It's not just what you've heard. I'm telling you what I've seen. I used to have that document in my hand, a document that has been authenticated to the fullest. It shows you his motivation. That's why he did that. That's why he put that together. And so if he's giving them instructions to basically justify his homosexual relationship with
God followed his instructions.
Oh, well, they did. They most very well did. They absolutely did.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why he's one of the strongest versions you're going to find against
William, I'm not going there. I'm just telling you what I'm telling you what the instructions were, and that's why, rather than the Bible being basically straightforward, the message and the power of it was hidden via symbolism, metaphors, similes, and all that thing. Primarily starting with the Catholic Church, but some people could not read. And what they realized is that when they put it in using those literary devices, that they could further enslave the people. They would be more enslaved having the book than they were if they didn't have the book, because they were going to take it for its literal meaning rather than for its metaphorical meaning. And that's where people get confused, because they look at the Old Testament and they think that these things have already happened rather than things that are to come, that are described metaphorically. And that's where they get lost. So if you're sitting here thinking today, sir, that what we're discussing about law, that they've lied to you about what we're learning in terms of law, and they're not lying to you about what they're teaching you in terms of religion, you are mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. And that's, but we can have another call on that. But right now, we're supposed to be sticking, and I would like to get back to focus with the law. My point was, from my perspective, I don't buy all that. I'm just sorry.
It's nothing to read, but we could talk about this another time. But no, there's a lot more nuances that we can get into. I think you have some serious understandings, but we can deal with this later if you like. But anyway, I know it's probably getting a bit late, but where are we going about this?
We were almost going to call it long, but sorry for that, for us diverging. But if anyone else has any questions, and hopefully this little conversation we had today was helpful, and I'll try to do better in the future to stay on point. We were supposed to stay on point, and we got off point. But is there anything anyone would like to say before we depart?
You can hear a pin drop almost.
No, let's depart.
It's still on the class. Is this just going to be like a one-time webinar, or are we going to be continually getting involved with our standing and with the collective group teaching?
Well, I didn't say our class. Notice that I said a school.
School, yeah. I like the idea of school, which would be a continual, more than one-time deal, continual training. And also, but what I've seen with groups or heard of them. People really don't stay in touch with one another, and I think that this is so important because we're going to be implementing such delicate, powerful applications. I would really like to keep in touch with those that are doing.
Yeah, they will be, I have a list of those who will be attending or who have already attended, and there will be, in essence, like a study group. I want this like if you gone to school or gone to college, you had study groups. And, you would bounce information. I know that when I was in college, we had a study group. Some of us would take, each of us would be assigned a number of questions, and we would answer those questions, and we'd come back, and we'd give our answers, and we think we could improve on those answers, and we would do so. But yeah, the whole idea behind the school is to lay the foundation, give everyone the proper information, so that we would have our own think tank. And our think tank is premised upon us being in original jurisdiction and being in harmony with the laws of nature and nature's God. That's our jurisdiction.
Okay. And this can be an ongoing, whatever you decide, process.
Yeah, there'll be different modules. There are different modules, but the first module that I want to lay down is to show you who you are, where you are, and the system that you're dealing with. I want to show you how it, basically how it lures you or it induces you to enter. And when you understand how all of the nuances, not all of them, but the stuff that you're given basically stops in their tracks. And the way in which you pretty much stops that system or keep it at bay is by invoking your law jurisdiction. When I say you're invoking your law jurisdiction, you're saying that I am under the laws of the state of, and the Constitution of the United States of America, and I'm claiming all of my rights, powers, privileges, remedies, immunities, and defenses. Those are terms that you should look up. And you're saying that all of my rights, well, what rights are you retaining? Are you invoking? I'm invoking all rights, powers, privileges, remedies, and immunities in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America as beneficiary. And when you say that, anybody who's an agent who does not have your approval, their signature. See, because remember, the way in which you get caught up in this system primarily is via giving a general capacity signature. And with that signature saying, hey, I no longer want to be a sovereign, I want to be a citizen slave who receives benefits. You are now my God. That's what you're saying.
So even though under duress, for an example, and further in the process of involvement with agents, a signature was obtained that this can overstand that which the duress initially overstands no.
Let me hit you in the head with this list one more time. If it's never your intent, there is never a signature.
I love getting kicked in the head. Okay. I just love to hear the support system.
Can I read your mind?
Oh, please do.
Hey, listen. It's a proven fact that I'm a genius, but I don't know everything. I was just joking, everybody. I was just joking. Don't take that serious.
I know everything I need. I know everything.
Yeah, the little ebb and flow we're hearing. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Only you know what your intention is.
I knew what it was in the beginning, and I knew what it was when I got caught between a hard rock. I was still the water, and I could wiggle out from the rock. So I'm keeping flowing. So yes.
And please, I really, you could never ask too many questions because you're probably asking some questions that people want to ask, but they don't have the courage to do so. Hopefully, but everyone who's listening out there, you and everyone who's on the call, you're entitled to your belief system. I'm not here to challenge it. That's something that's between you and God. That has nothing to do with me. And I'm not here to try to compel anyone to believe in a certain way. I am going to believe what I believe. You're going to believe what you believe. But all I'm saying is, regardless of what title you put on it, if you are submitting to God, that's what He taught you through all His prophets, is to be obedient and to submit. And as long as you're doing that, I really could care less what you call it, what name you put on it. It's the obedience and being in harmony with the law of nature, nature's God, and doing unto others you have do unto you. That is very simple, but it is very profound. And so in that sense, regardless of the titles, because we're talking about the precepts, we're talking about the conduct, we're talking about, I can call myself anything, but if I'm not in harmony with the laws of nature, nature's God, if I'm not obedient and I'm not submitting and I'm not keeping the laws, then it's your acts that determines what you are, not it's your conduct, and not what you basically say you're doing, but it's your acts, it's your conduct determines who you are, not the title. So that's pretty much all that I have to share on that. I'm sorry that we went in a different direction, but it's never my intention to try to tell someone how to believe or compel them to believe. You believe what you want. You have the free will. And that's the whole idea about free will, not compelling somebody, trying to force somebody to do something against their will. That's something that you have to work out with the Creator. So with that said, I think we pretty much covered anything and give anybody an opportunity to say something before we go, if they'd like to.
Thank you very much, Tommy, for the class opportunity coming up here. I really look forward to that.
Likewise. So, okay. Well, hopefully we'll give you all. I really appreciate you all attending and attending the call and participating. You are most welcome and you are most appreciated. And I guess with that, we are going to go ahead and end this call because we've been here about 3 hours, which we weren't intended to be. And we'll keep you posted and look forward to our next opportunity to communicate.
Thanks, Tommy. Great. Thank you.
Talk to y'all later.
Take care.